As usual, we are gathered here today to listen to another exposition of the Lord Buddha's teaching. And as we always do, let us all take a moment to remind ourselves that it is because of the Supreme Buddha that we have this Dhamma today. Let us take a moment to reflect on the fact that it is because of His infinite compassion towards all sentient beings. When He Himself had already delivered Himself, already achieved the pinnacle of His success, He dedicated an entire lifetime towards the liberation of you and I, and all sentient beings in existence. Let us take a moment to reflect on this and to be grateful to our Master, the Perfect One, the Unvanquished One, the Peerless One, the Unparalleled One, the Magnificent One, the Supreme Gautama Buddha. And before we commence the sermon, let us take a moment to pay homage to Him. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Let's also take a moment to observe the precepts, reminding ourselves once again that we keep finding ourselves in this situation where we are having to renew the vows that we took upon ourselves to abide by. There may have been instances in the week gone by during which the defilements got the better of you, and having succumbed to desire, aversion and delusion, having become slaves to ignorance and attachment, there may have been instances in the week gone by where the precepts that you vowed to abide by were broken. So let us take a moment to renew our precepts in the hope and resolve that may this have to be the last time I have to do this. May the virtue entailed within these precepts become part and parcel of my conscience, of my very being, of my very existence. With that in mind, in order to observe the precepts, please recite all together and after me. Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dutiyampi buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dutiyampi dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dutiyampi saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Saranagamaṇaṃ sampunnaṃ. Pānātipātā vēramaṇī sikkhapaдаṃ samādhiyāmi. Adinādānā vēramaṇī sikkhapaдаṃ samādhiyāmi. Kāmesu micchāchārā vēramaṇī sikkhapaдаṃ samādhiyāmi. Musāvādā vēramaṇī sikkhapaдаṃ samādhiyāmi. Suramere majjapama datthana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Tisaranena saddhing panchasilang dhammang sadhukang surakkitang kattva appamadena sampaditabang. Okay, you may all now be seated. Most venerable members of the Mahasangha, distinguished gathering, as well as those joining us online. As usual, before we commence this sermon, let us take a moment to invite all the devas, brahmas, spirits, demons and the dead, all those countless beings we will have come past in samsara, anyone and everyone who may have been connected to us, linked to us, associated with us in whatever capacity, whichever way, shape or form. We are today presented with a fantastic and the greatest opportunity to repay any debts that we owe them, and that is by giving them the gift of Dhamma, which excels all other gifts. So on this occasion, where we are in receipt of the Buddha's teaching, let us invite all those beings from the 10,000 world systems, wherever they may be, if they are in any capacity to witness this meritorious deed, may they do so, may they acquire merit, and if any of them have been born in the woeful plains, may through the acquisition of these merits, they be able to redeem themselves and be born in the blissful plains. And may for all those beings who are in the blissful plane, may they be able to listen to this teaching, understand it, comprehend it, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. So as I now make this invitation, I ask you all to extend this invitation in your hearts and in your minds out to all those beings out there, your mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, uncles, aunts, nephews, nieces, grandparents, so on and so forth. Not just in this birth, but all those beings who have been associates of you in previous births. May they join us, may they witness this meritorious deed. May they redeem themselves once and for all from the woeful and pitiful states that they may be in, and may they all be able to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Samanta Chakravalesu Atra Gacchantu Devata Saddhammang Munirajansa Sunantu Sagga Mokkadang Dhamma Savana Kalo Ayang Bhadanta Dhamma Savana Kalo Ayang Bhadanta Dhamma Savana Kalo Ayang Bhadanta. And also before we commence the sermon, let's all take a moment to reflect on the transformation that has taken place in our lives. Let us take a moment to reflect and consider the people we used to be, the temperaments that we used to possess. Thanks to the Dhamma, we have changed. But considering who we were in this birth alone, without the Dhamma, before the Dhamma touched our lives, consider for a moment what and who and how you might have been in this infinitely long journey in samsara. having been left desolate and in despair, turn into desire, aversion and delusion for the purpose of satisfaction. The kind of people we must have been, the kind of beings we must have been in this long journey in samsara, and all the noble ones we may have offended, the countless number of Buddhas, Pacceka Buddhas, Arahata Buddhas, Anagami, Sakrudagami, Sotapannas, be they on the path or having attained the fruits that we may have reviled, desecrated, offended, and for any actions, words or thoughts of desecration that we might have directed towards them, either knowingly or unknowingly. The results of those actions may be that today our progress in the Dhamma is hindered and blocked. Therefore, before we commence this sermon, let us all take a moment to seek forgiveness from the noble ones, with humility in our hearts, accepting and acknowledging that this is who we used to be. Let us all take a moment to seek forgiveness from the noble ones. And finally, let us all make a firm resolve that may, through the course of this sermon, if there are still those among you who are yet to achieve noble attainments, who are yet to realize the noble truths, may through the course of this sermon you be able to do so. If there are those among you who have already attained the first noble state of Sotapanna, may through the course of this sermon you be able to fulfill the subsequent stages, and may you all be able to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. So with that resolve in mind, I invite you all to prepare yourselves to listen to this sermon. Vayava Anagarikas at the back. There are seats up front here. And our monks. What's the best way to lead? By? So you know. Okay. So today we are here to reflect. So we've been doing these meditation sessions for some weeks now. And the purpose of these sessions is to reflect. So I need to talk less and give you the time to reflect. This is what meditation is. It's reflecting. Reflecting on the truth. Because it is through reflection that one begins to realize. First comes realization, then you can reflect, and then the more you reflect, the more you realize. That's how it works. They mutually support each other. But the initial realization has to come first. So this is what we mean by 1. Realizing the Four Noble Truths for the first time. That's when one enters the Noble Eightfold Path via Sammaditthi. And that is nothing other than simply to have seen the truth of this world, of existence, and simply of oneself for the first time. So once you have realized that for the first time, from that point forward it is simply about reflecting continuously, incessantly, about the truth that you have just realized. And the more you reflect, the more you realize. The more you reflect, the more you realize. The more you realize, the more you can reflect, and the more your reflection becomes powerful, more potent. So as I said, one supports the other. And through this cycle, you eventually get to the final state of realization. And that is when one has become an Arahant. So that is when you know, my purpose has been achieved, my job is done, I have nothing else left to do. Until you are able to say that you have nothing else left to do, there's always going to be plenty to do. Don't you have plenty to do? Oh, where do we begin, Swaminathan, right? People are busybodies, busy bees. People are always busy. Too busy to stop and think. Too busy to realize that they're going to die one day. Too busy to die. Knock, knock, knock. Who's that? Mara. Why are you here? I've come to take you. Sorry, not today. I'm too busy. Come back tomorrow. Too busy. There's no matter what you're busy, no matter what you're unable to do because you're too busy, there's one thing that I am busy does not cut it. When that thing comes, no matter how busy you are, no matter how many duties and responsibilities you are yet to fulfill, no matter how many goals are left on your goal list that are as yet unaccomplished, all of that is regardless, all of that is meaningless. It's time to go. Both noble ones and ignoble ones, Aryas and Anaryas, they're both busy. They're both busy. Only they're busy doing different things. So is it wrong to be busy? No, it's not wrong to be busy. In fact, if you're not busy, then there's something wrong. Especially at this monastery, you have to be busy. At least you have to pretend to be busy. Otherwise, the senior monks will always come and ask you. Guru Hamdar will come and ask you, how come you're not busy? You've got to be busy. And even in lay life, even in a worldly existence, you have to be busy, right? If you're not busy, your teacher comes and asks you, hey, how come you're not busy? How come you haven't done your work? Your boss comes and asks you, hey, how come you're not busy? I never see you at your desk. You're always by the coffee machine. Do you need work to do? I can make you busy. See, in worldly existence, generally other people make you busy. Other people's duties, other people's expectations on you make you busy. The things that you have to do to please others, the things that you have to do to fulfill duties and responsibilities towards others, a lot of the time these are things that make you busy and keep you busy. But on the noble path, really, being busy until you have attained final realization is for your own salvation. So even as I'm preaching this sermon to you right now, I'm very busy. You're only seeing a small proportion of it. How busy I am right now cannot be gauged by what you see and what you hear. Because all you're seeing and hearing is me speaking, and perhaps a few words are coming out, at a rate of X words per minute, it would be wrong for you to think that that's how busy I am. Because in my mind, I'm a lot busier than I look. I'm very busy. And right now, you're not saying anything. So are you not busy? Well, you ought to be. So it's okay to be busy. What matters is, what are you busy doing? That is what matters. You got to be busy doing the right things. Simply being busy to get through the day is a waste. That's a waste of valuable human life. There are two ways that people approach the day. Some people, they want to get through the day. That's the wrong way to approach life. The question is not how do I get through the day. The question ought to be, what do I get from the day? What do I get from the day? Not how do I get through the day. If the question you ask yourself every morning when you wake up is, another Monday, how do I get through the day? That's a very sad life. Everybody hates Mondays, right? No more. Good. A lot of people don't like Mondays. They call it the Monday feeling. There's the Monday feeling and the Friday. You know it, right? Okay. What are you talking about, Swami? So been there, bought the t-shirt, right? We know the gig. But once you have embarked on this noble journey, every day is priceless. Every day is a Friday. You no longer have weekends. They're all strong ends. Do you still have weekends in your life? You had better not. They ought to be strong ends. I've been asking you to come up with a timetable. I don't know how many of you have done it by now. At the last sermon I gave in the Dhamma hall, I asked people to put their hands up. And then I took a count. Were you there? Some of you were there. So I'm going to do that now again. And I said, I guaranteed when I asked people to do this that only 10% would, and I was right, wasn't I? Only 10% of the population had done it. So I'm gonna bet that it's gonna be 10% again here. Let's put it to the test. Right. Those who have prepared a timetable, at the count of... Hang on. Let me finish my sentence. Jeez. What's that? Yeah. Kalua. So at the count of 3, can those who have prepared a timetable please put their mental hands up? In your mind, I want you to put your hand up, not physically, in your mind. 1, 2, 3. See, I knew it. Only 10%. So I've been kind to you. All morning, I put time aside from the time that I have to doing my meditation, and I produced a timetable for you. A template. In the hope that at least through sympathy for me, you will start leading a more structured and organized life. If you feel sorry for me, at least, that's a good start, isn't it? It's a very simple template, nothing complicated. I mean, you can get these templates all over the net, but what matters is doing it. So I'll show that to you in a moment. You got to be busy. And I have started mentoring a number of our monks, especially the younger ones, because these are not things that they learned at school. These are not things I think anyone would ever learn at school. They don't teach these things at school. That's a story for another day, why they don't teach these things at school. So I've started mentoring them, and I have instructed them that once they have produced their timetable, there shouldn't be a single moment spare. Where, when I ask you, hey, what are you doing now? I said to them, don't let me ever find you. If when I ask you the question, what are you doing now? Nothing. If ever I have to ask you the question, what have you got to do now? And if your answer is nothing, are you kidding me? That's saying, I have so much time. I've got so much time, I have nothing to do in the time that I have. No, all that means is you haven't organized your life properly. Any arahants in the room? Like Eminem said, can all the real Slim Shadys please stand up? Can I ask all the real arahants to stand up? Okay, so there's none in the room, which means I cannot find you at any point in the day and when asked the question, what are you doing now? What do you have to do now? You can't be saying, I have nothing to do. There must always be something you are working on. That doesn't mean you always have to be physically busy. It may be simply that you are reflecting, and that's fine. You can be laying down in your armchair, sipping on your cup of tea, that's fine. But you've got to be reflecting. So it's okay to have recreation time. It's okay to have a break. It's okay to have leisure time. But that leisure, recreation, has to be physical recreation and leisure. There's one thing for a fact, that you can't switch off your mind, can you? You can't switch off your mind. So it's not an on-off switch. You can go, I want to take a break now. Off. You can't switch off your mind. So your mind is always working. Even while you're asleep, your mind's still working. So this is my point. If your mind is always working, well, give it something worthwhile to work on. And if you were able to switch off your mind, then I wouldn't be so pedantic about it. But your mind cannot be switched off. Of course, while you're asleep, you can't issue it tasks. You can't designate tasks for your mind to work on while you're asleep. But all the other times, you can't stop the arising and the passing away of the mind. This is why a few weeks ago I said to you, like the great King Parakram Bahu, who said, do not let a single drop of rainwater be wasted without being put to human use. This is why I suggested to you, don't let a single chitta that arises in your mind pass away without being put to good use. Because you can't stop the rain. Likewise, you can't stop your mind arising and passing away. When it rains, it rains. When it's not raining, it's not raining. So the mind is the same. You can't stop it from arising and passing away, so you might as well put it to good use. So make yourself busy. Start off with the timetable. If you have one already, then fantastic. If not, you can start off with the one that I have tried to put together for you. In there, I put in some bits and pieces about household chores. I had to go back to old memories to ask myself, what were some of the things I did on a Saturday morning? I had to put in time for work and commute. Made me feel sick. So I started writing it down on a piece of paper, and then I thought, no, they're sick on this. Now I can't give this to anybody. So I put it away and put it on electronic form. When I tried it the second time, there were tears on it. So then again I threw it away. Said, no, I can't be doing this. I just do it on Excel and put it on screen so you can see it. So I'll talk you through how you can make one. And I'll talk you through the example that I have prepared for you. But it's sad that I have to use this word. Please, start using one. No one's ever become successful by just being on their backsides and letting life pass them by. You've got to take it by the horns. You've got to bring it into your command and make use of your life. Put your life to good use. It's not a nice to do. It's a must do. Don't think it's a nice to do. It's a must do. So I'll show you that in a moment. So what we're going to be doing today is reflecting. Reflecting on the things that we've been talking about over the past weeks. I think several weeks we tried to do this. I did a lot of talking. So I'm teaching myself. Because I review my week. I reviewed the last meditation program that I did, and I watched the video. And as I was watching the video, this guy sitting on the seat talking, I was like, when is this guy ever going to shut up? It says meditation session. God, he loves the sound of his own voice, doesn't he? So I put a note to self. Shut up. And let them reflect. I will remind you what you need to reflect on, but I think we need to use these sessions more for reflection. Because sermons, there's plenty of them out there, plenty on CDs, plenty on YouTube. You can always go and listen to them. But this is time to reflect. Because it is through reflection that whatever realization you have had, you build on and you cultivate and you improve and work on. Realizing the truth is like getting hold of the weapon. Reflecting is using the weapon. You can only win once you have destroyed your enemies. You don't destroy your enemies by learning how to use the weapon. You destroy your enemies by using the weapon. And this weapon is anicca dukkha anatta. It's the Dhamma that I talk to you, that we share with you. So you need time to use it. I know you all have busy lives. There among you, there are anagarikas, and of course there are others who live very busy lives. So I know that perhaps sometimes the only time you may have to reflect on the Dhamma is this time on a Sunday. So therefore we need to make use of this time to do so. So here's what we're going to be doing today. And I'm going to introduce to you a structured method which a lot of you found useful, particularly those who came for the meditation program last week, the last session. So there's one starting off today. And we also talked about it in one of the sermons. And a lot of the feedback that came through said, we've now got a structured way to practice this. So I'm going to share that with you. There's what is called the Satara Kamatahan. Satara Kamatahan. These are the 4 objects of, I suppose, reflection. The way I see it, it is simply using the Dhamma in a structured way to rid your mind of defilements. And it's very structured and it's very straightforward because it gives you the opportunity to first reflect on oneself and the progress that you have made in the Dhamma, by which process joy begins to arise in your mind, because you need joy to do anything. You need to be happy, you need to be inspired, you need to be motivated. Without motivation, without joy, you're not going to go very far. But motivation enough alone is not going to do it either. You need energy. You need enthusiasm. So you need that. You need the effort to keep it going. So there's a way that through this structured process you can achieve that. And then you get to the core of it, which is the actual cultivation of anicca dukkha anatta. And finally, with noble metta or Arya Maitriya, you expound the realization that you have had and the kindness and the metta on all sentient beings by reflecting on the fact that what is true for you is true also for all other beings. So let me talk to you about that. And this is what we will be reflecting on. So let's start with the first of these, and this is Buddhanussatiya. You will have heard of this, I'm sure, in various sermons, maybe read it in books, and so on and so forth. Buddhanussatiya, or reflecting on the qualities of the Buddha. Now the truth of the matter is, the Buddha is a peerless one. He's the perfect one. He's beyond comparison. And really, he's beyond the reach or understanding of any other being. Not even the great elder Sariputta could encompass who the Buddha was. Because only a Buddha will actually know another Buddha. That's why he's only equal to another Buddha and he's unequal to everyone else. This is why we say he's peerless. He has no peers. So for us to, for example, some of you may come along and go to the Buddha Mandire where you chant the Buddhaguna, or the qualities of the Buddha. I mean, that's great. It's fantastic that you do that. If you have found time to do that, then if you haven't so far, then I urge you to do so. But as you do it, and you recite these noble qualities of the Buddha, itipi so bhagava arahang samma sambuddho vijjacharana sampanno sugato lokavido anuttaro purisa dhamma sarati, and so on. Now all of these words have meanings that you may have heard in various sermons, read in various scriptures and books and so on. But really, it's impossible to use words to describe something that is out of this world. You can't, the moment you use a word, you're trying to give meaning to something that is beyond any meaning. This is boundless. How much compassion did the Buddha have? Come on, give me a number. Okay, whatever units, let's say you measure compassion in kilos. How many kilos of compassion do you think the Buddha had? We say infinite. That is absolutely true, ma'am. We say infinite, but even infinite, what does that actually mean? Infinite. It means endless. Okay. Because if you were to give an analogy or a simile and say it's like the number of drops of water in the ocean, still, actually, you can count. It's going to take a long time. You can still count it. Because you're talking about something that is finite. And people have said that only, I think, 0.01% of all water is suitable for human consumption. Is it 0.1 or 0.01? One of the two. Which one is it? 0.01, right? Yeah. So which means someone's done the math. So to have done the math, what is 0.01% of infinity? That's also infinity. So then we have no water problem. Right? So then we don't have a water problem. Because there's an infinite amount of water for human consumption. No problem then. So does that not tell us that to use that simile, really to say that the Buddha's quality of compassion is like the vast ocean, it does not cut it. Because you're talking about something that is finite. I mean, I simply can't grasp the concept of infinity because it's just a word to me. It's just a word. I don't get it. It's like as vast as the universe. People only say that the universe is infinite because they haven't still found the edge of the universe. Is there one? I don't know. Isn't there one? I don't know. Simply because we haven't found it, people say it's infinite. So I struggle to give a simile, to say this is how vast the Buddha's qualities are. And therefore, but I still want to do Buddha Anusati. I still want to reflect on the Buddha. So I was thinking about this one day and realized, hey, I think I'm going to stop thinking about the Buddha and start thinking about myself for a change. Rather than looking outside, rather than trying to understand who the Buddha is, I thought, what if I just try to understand myself? Remember that when the Buddha was asked, what is it to see you, O great sir? He said, to see me is to see the Dhamma. Did he not say so? Indeed. Your Dhammam passati, so mam passati, he said. And then when asked, what is it to see the Dhamma? He said, to see dependent origination, or paticca-samuppada, which is the law of cause and effect, how all things come into being and all things cease to exist, cease being. In other words, when he says all things, he's really referring to dukkha. He's really referring to suffering, because what else did dependent origination bring into this world? It's simply suffering, that's all. When we start with avidya paccaya sankhara, where does it always end? Suffering. It always ends with suffering. And suffering is conditional. Isn't that great? That's the best news I've ever heard. Suffering is conditional. Fantastic. It's great that it's conditional, because what that means is you can fix it. You can fix it. Work on the conditions, work on the dependencies, and now you don't need to worry about the result. So it's fantastic that suffering is conditioned. That's great news. So really what the Buddha is saying is, reflect on suffering, the cause of suffering, the cessation of suffering, and the path to cessation of suffering, and you have seen the Dhamma. Once you've seen the Dhamma, you have seen me. Now I don't need to look any further than myself to see suffering. Do I? No, there's plenty of suffering going on with me right now. I don't need to look at anybody else. I don't need to go into the make-believe apaya and go and see that. Where is that? In Sri Lanka? There's a place in Sri Lanka, right? A long time ago I went there. There's an apaya. What's it called? School. No, there's one that's less fierce. There's a place there's some place in Sri Lanka where they've built this place like an apaya, so you can go and see it if you want to see what apaya is like. Or you can wait for a few more years and then you can see. So anyway, I don't need to look at another person or another being to understand suffering, because all I need to do is really look at myself. Look within, not without. Look within. I know I'm suffering, because I know I'm vexing right now. For as long as ignorance and attachment prevail in my mind, I am vexing. So to understand the Buddha, what I began to do is really look inside of me, look within myself, look into my mind, introspect, rather than extrospect. Is that the word? No, retrospect is look backwards. Extrovert, introvert. Anyway, we got the word. Introspect. Then I began to ask myself, okay, so you're on the path of Dhamma, good. What has it done for you? What has it done to you? How have you changed? Who did you used to be? And who are you now? A young child goes to school, right? After a year of college, or 2 years of college, he comes back out with a certificate that says you have passed your A-levels. So what has school done for this child? It's prepared this child for university, or perhaps a job, some kind of employment maybe. So that 2 years that this child spent at college transformed him from someone who was not ready for university to someone who is now ready for university. So that was the transformation that happened. Now, you may also have some experience personally of this. If you ever commended a teacher, maybe your science teacher, maybe your math teacher, maybe your language teacher, religion teacher, whatever, or your sports instructors, and this teacher is a great teacher, really good teacher. I took lessons from this teacher, and all those problems I struggled with, all those scientific equations, all that stuff that I was struggling with, gone. So what you're saying is, this is who I used to be. I used to struggle in math. I went to this teacher, and this teacher helped me out, and now I'm good at math. I have no problem in math. So really, for you to say that this is a good teacher, are you looking at the teacher or are you looking at yourself? You're looking at yourself. You're making a judgment about the teacher and the instruction that you received from the teacher based on the transformation that has happened within yourself. Within, not without. Until that transformation happened within yourself, you were just going by what someone else said. Like when at one point I was looking for a chemistry teacher, and I said, do you know any good chemistry teachers? I was asking my mates. I said, yeah, there's a good chemistry teacher. So if someone asked me at that point, do you know a good chemistry teacher? All I can say is, oh, I've heard that so-and-so is a good chemistry teacher. I'm going to go and try out myself. If you want, you can come along with me. So this is third-party information, because I don't know it for myself. I haven't tried it out for myself. So really, I'm not saying this with conviction. This is believing somebody else. If you want conviction in the Buddha, this is how you ought to achieve that. It's by looking within. Look at yourself. Look at how you have transformed. And I think you may remember at the last meditation session, this is what we did for the first part of the afternoon. I asked you all to take a moment to look back at who you used to be, and then look at who you are today. Look at how you have changed. Well, some people had, if I have changed, but for most of you, you were able to do this because you really have changed. And that change is evidence. That change is evidence that the Dhamma works. That change is evidence that the Four Noble Truths are actually Four Noble Truths. Because until one has seen suffering, the noble truth of suffering, one's temperament will not change. You can be instructed to be a good person, but that is very short-lived. When the vexation is too strong, when you reach the upper limit, those thresholds, when you start reaching them and encroaching those safety barriers, after that point forward, you begin to break through, and you can't bear the vexation that comes in from that point forward. Let me give you an example. Guy's got diabetes. Okay? The guy's got diabetes. The doctor said, you must not take sugar. So he comes back home. Now he knows that he's got diabetes. And he walks towards the kitchen, opens the fridge, and there's a box of chocolates. Until he knew he got diabetes, it was just a box of chocolates. Now it's not any longer just a box of chocolates. Now this box of chocolates are so endearing. They're calling him, hey honey, come on, you know you want me. This is because now the vexation has started to build. Because this guy has now been instructed, you must not take any more sugar, otherwise you're going to be facing some detrimental health effects. So you must not be taking sugar. So now the vexation starts to build inside of this guy, and he can be patient only for so long. If you do any kind of study, you will know that all diabetes patients, let me put 1% aside, just for the guys who are of strong-willed people. The 99% of them will have at some point succumbed to their desires. knowing fully well that they mustn't. Knowing fully well that they mustn't. There's going to be some point where they can't control themselves any further. And they will go for it. They will succumb to it. They will succumb to the desires. They'll fall into the trap. This is true for all things. And I'm talking about something so innocent as a box of chocolates. You can substitute that with anything you want. When the urge of desire, when the urge kicks in, when the fires of desire begin to arise in your mind, when they start burning you from the inside, there's only so much you can bear. At some point, it's going to start tipping the balance. And at that point, all the willpower is not going to save you. This is where realization is the only key. And people, a lot of the times people who give advice to, I suppose, people who get angry all the time. Right? There are people who do counselors. That's the word I was looking for. Counselors. When people get angry all the time, to control anger, temper controlling measures, they say count to 10. There's only so many times you can count to 10. Because there's going to be some point where the trigger is so strong and the fire of anger is so strong that counting to any number is not going to save the day. And some of you may have experiences. You come along to sermons, you listen to the sermons, and you leave the room thinking you have become an arahant. I know the feeling. At the end of the sermon, you'll even say, Swamin Wahanse, I feel so liberated. I'm sure I must be at least an anagami by now. I don't feel any sensual desires. Nothing in the world could take away my peace. I feel so cool. I feel as cool as a cucumber. Nothing can make me angry. You do feel that, I know. And then you get into the car, and you start driving back home, and then the build-up of enthusiasm, all that Dhamma that was, taking prominence in your mind, slowly start to diminish, because this is all not Vishkambana Prahana, or rather Vishkambana Prahana, not Samucheda Prahana, which is suppressing. This is simply suppressing, because as you listen to the Dhamma and you reflect on the Dhamma, it suppresses your defilements. But there's going to be some point when the trigger is going to be too strong that you can no longer suppress it. And then sometimes it could be the whole day, sometimes it could be a few hours, sometimes maybe half a day. But out of your own life examples, how when it come soon after Saturday, when you come to the Sinhala sermon, or soon after Sunday, you're a completely different person. And you go back home, and then Monday, you're a saint. Tuesday, you're half a saint. Right? Wednesday, Thursday time, the evil horns start to come back, and then by Friday time, right, you're back to your old ways. And then you come back again on Saturday for your new prescription. This is why I say this is the outpatients department. It's better than nothing. Something's always better than nothing. At least you live Monday like a saint. That's good. This is why realization is so important. Because once you realize, do you ever find yourself going back and playing with your dolls? Madam? How about you? You find yourself going back and play with your Barbie dolls? What about your Superman figures? No, why? Because you've suppressed those feelings so well. No, because they're gone for good. never to resurface, because you have lost value in them. That is the transformation that has happened in your mind. You have lost value in them. You have lost value in them because you now realize today that these things that used to make me happy, those things that used to be fun, are no longer fun. Instead, you have other things that have replaced them. So this is what going through life is, right? Remove out with the old stuff, in with the new stuff. So it's always being replaced, like water going into a tank. When the old water leaves, new water comes in. There's an outlet and an inlet. But the Buddha's teaching is not like that. Realization is, once it's gone from the outlet, you don't start replacing it with the inlet. You shut down the inlet. So you start closing the inlet slowly and gradually until it's completely shut. The outlet is open. The water will keep leaking out until whenever. As long as it takes, it will just keep going out. But what the Buddha's teaching is for is not to turn on the outlet. Let it seep at whatever pace it's seeping out, but you start closing the inlet. Then, when the water leaves the tank, no more water is filling into the tank. This is what you need to do. And for that, you need to understand that the things that we used to think were full of value and essence and joyful and pleasurable are void of pleasure, they're void of joy, and they're void of essence. This is why we say this anicca, dukkha, anatta. So that transformation, folks, have to have happened in your life. To whatever extent. It may be, right, something as simple as, Swaminatha, used to be that when I open the fridge and I see a box of chocolates, I have to go through the entire box. And I won't stop until I've gone through the entire box. It may be, you maybe used to be that. But now I can stop at 2/3 of it. Fantastic. That's a great achievement. You deserve a box of chocolates. Simply for having been able to do that. Because that shows that this works. You know, you need proof, folks. This is what I'm saying. You need proof that this medicine is potent. You need proof that this drug works. Once you've gotten proof of it, I don't need to convince you. I don't need to keep encouraging you to take the drug. Once you've gotten proof for yourself, then you will follow the path. I want you to find that proof not in the scriptures, not by looking at the statue of the Buddha, not by looking at me. Because I could be faking this. How do you know what I'm up to when I get back up there? Do you really want to know what I do when I get back up there? I put away my robe, get into a pair of jeans, my party hat goes on, and then we party all night long. I get my mates to come down. So I could be faking this, right? But you can't fake who? Yourself. You can't fake yourself. You know who you are. You may not know who I am, but you know who you are. You know your true self. And it's by looking at and introspecting your true self, will you know that the Dhamma really works. That's like going to the teacher, your chemistry teacher. Having taken a few of those lessons, you know that this is a good teacher. Because all those chemistry problems that you couldn't figure out, no matter how many teachers you had gone to before that, none of them could help you figure this out. But now you go to this teacher, 2 lessons in, and you're getting it. It's making sense. So now you know that this teacher, good teacher. So next time someone asks you, do you know a good chemistry teacher? Let me take you. I know the best chemistry teacher there is in town. You're saying this because it has now become self-evident. Not because it's evident to somebody else. It's become self-evident. This is how I want you all to begin to see the Buddha. I want it to become self-evident to you that the Buddha really existed. And that there was such a man who possessed infinite qualities, an infinite number of great qualities. You can begin to start to see that. You can begin to see that by looking at yourself and making it self-evident to yourself how you have changed. So anyone here know the Buddha? Do you know the Buddha? Is it knowing him, knowing that he was called Gautama? Is that what knowing the Buddha is all about? No. Not even the great elder Sariputta knew the Buddha. I mean, we don't know Sariputta, the great elder. How can we know the Buddha? Least of all, I don't even know who Angulimala was. I don't even know who Devadatta was. He's the villain, right? In the story, Devadatta is the villain. But if you and I had come across Devadatta, we'd torn him a new page. Shown the guy, given the guy a good beating. How dare you do that to the Buddha? We would have accused him. But the Buddha says, Ananda, no. Do not speak too soon, because this Devadatta is one day going to become a Pacceka Buddha. In a future birth, he will become a Pacceka Buddha. Not like you, an Arahant. He is going to surpass you in greatness. Because in order of greatness, in order of superiority, you have the Supreme Buddha, then the Pacceka Buddha, and then the great elders like Sariputta. So actually what the Buddha is saying is, he was speaking to Ananda, he was speaking to Venerable Ananda, he is going to become a greater person than you one day. So do not insult him. Today he may be vile, today he may have committed bad deeds and wrong deeds and heinous sins, but one day he is going to deliver himself and he is going to become a Pacceka Buddha. So do not judge others, because you cannot be a judge of character. Only I am able to judge character. Who am I speaking of? The Buddha, not me. The Buddha. Right? So we can't judge Devadatta. What's there to speak about the Buddha? We can't even judge Devadatta, let alone the Buddha. Right? So in order for us to understand who the Buddha was, to whatever extent that we can, the only thing really that is worth doing is looking at ourselves. Looking at how we have changed. Looking at the transformation that the Dhamma has made in our lives. This is where we need to begin. That is how Buddha Anusati works, as far as I know. This is how I do Buddha Anusati. I look at who I used to be 6 months ago. I look at who I used to be a year ago. I look at who I used to, or reflect on who I used to be 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, who I used to be. The amount of raga, dvesha, moha that was in my mind back then. How I succumbed to evilness. How desire always got the better of me. I reflect on those bad qualities and how I have changed today. And the good qualities that I used to possess, how I have improved on them. And then I ask myself, how did that happen? What's the change? What have you done? It's like you say something, what have you done with your hair? And someone's changed their hair, right? What have you done with your hair? Yeah, I went to this salon, right? They did this stuff and now it's different like this. Oh, good salon. So I look at myself and ask myself, what have you done with yourself? It's impressive. I tell myself. I appreciate myself. I don't need someone else to come and appreciate me. You need to learn to appreciate yourself. Look within and you will find reasons to appreciate, well, if you have changed for the better. I used to always remind you, look for good in other people. Do you remember? It's sad I have to say, do you remember? Do you do it when I remind you to do it? Or do you always do it? Hopefully you always do it, not when I remind you to do it. Look for the good in other people. Hey, you know what? Before you start looking for good in other people, you need to do one thing. Look for the good within yourself. One who can't see the good within oneself is never going to see good in other people. Sometimes when I speak to our young monks, right, and I ask them, so, yesterday there was the ordination ceremony. Some of you came along. And so I went up to a few of our monks who worked tirelessly to make the event happen. I went up to them and asked them, so Swaminas, what do you think? How did you perform? How did it go? And then they start coming up with all the things that went wrong. Oh, I could have done this better. I could have done this differently. No, stop. Why are you starting with the negatives? What's the risk with that? If that's what you're practicing, if I ask you, how is that guy? What do you think about this person? What do you think about that person? Where do you think they're going to start? With the negatives. They're going to start on the weaknesses. You heard of a SWOT analysis? It's not a WSOT analysis, is it? It's a SWOT. Why? Where does it start? Strengths. Starts with strengths. You got to start with the strengths. You got to start with the positives, because that gives you joy. And then in the face of your enemy, in the face of weaknesses, you're strong. Now you've got the guts, you've got the courage to fight it. But if you start on a downer, it's very difficult to then have the mentality that you need to work on your weaknesses. So you've got to start on the strengths. So I stopped and said, no, whoa. Start again. How did it go? The thing is, right, we've been so accustomed and we've been so, our minds have been so programmed. Whenever someone asks the question, how did it go? It's always the negatives that start coming out. Because we feel that they spotted negatives and they want us to come clean. It's the wrong mentality. And the reason for that being, very hardly do you find someone who actually appreciates others. We need to work on that. On society? No. Work on ourselves. I'm not here to change the world. I'm here to change myself, and I explain to you how I change myself and perhaps inspire you to change yourselves. I'm not here to change the world. Change yourself to someone who starts to look for the good in yourself and in other people. That's not to say become someone who always says the glass is half full. No, that's foolish. You have to be able to see. Aren't you mature enough to stomach the fact that the glass is half empty also? You got to be able to take both maturely. That is what maturity is. To be able to accept, yes, it's half full, but it's also half empty. But if you always have to keep sugarcoating things, that's not good either. So you can't stomach when something negative comes your way. That's also wrong. Someone points out something wrong with you. You have a long face and go and start crying in a corner. That's no good. Why? Because you're never going to hear any advice from that person again. The first thing I said to this guy, he's going and crying himself. He's crying his eyes out. How can I say anything again? That was not the intention behind giving that piece of advice. Now, this is all good stuff, right? I know it's not entirely related to Nibbana, but actually it is. You need to be able to become mature enough to receive both compliment and blame. You have to be mature enough to receive both. In doing so, you need to be able to be objective towards them, not be subjective. You need to be able to see problems as problems, not my problems. It's very profound what I just explained there. I know it's simply a word. What's the difference? My, no my. It's not as simple as it sounds. It's very deep, it's very profound what I just explained to you there, what I expressed there. You need to be able to deal with the problem and not make it my problem. Because when there's a problem, now you are willing to take help from anyone to solve that problem. Okay, let's say you have more. Some people have this problem. There's more money. There's money left at the end of the month. Do you have that problem? Money left at the end of the month. Do you have that problem? You can give me some of that. Other people have more month left at the end of the money. That's what most people have. More money left at the end of the month. More month left at the end of the money. So if you are short of money, right, and you need some way to take you through the rest of the, say there's a week left, are you going to be particular about who lends you money? Or wherever it comes from. Wherever it comes from, I need the money to get me through the week, so I'll take it. Why do people go to payday loan companies? Some of you might have heard of them, payday loan companies. where they lend you money, not at 20%, 30%, but 3,000%. 3,000%. No, this is very popular in the Western world. How come we don't have them still? All the good stuff we need to get from the Western world, right? 3,000% payday loan companies. Because when you have more money, or rather more months left at the end of the money, and you need just you have an extra few days that you need to topple over, then you can get some money that gets you to the rest of the week. But anyway, the point being, when you need some money, generally speaking, you don't really care where the money comes from. As long as someone's willing to give you some money, you'll take it. I want you all to be able to look at problems in the same way. A problem needs a solution. It does not matter who gives the solution. It does not matter whose problem it is. It simply needs a solution. A problem needs a solution. Learn to deal with problems in that way. When you personify problems, that's when you make vipakas your own. You personify vipakas. Add a person into it. Now it becomes my problem. The personification of vipakas. Well, that's simply what suffering is about. Suffering is the personification of vipakas. Because when you personify suffering or vipaka, now it's my vipaka, so therefore I need to do something about it. Then you do something about it, which is the karma. And then karma, vipaka follows, and then karma again, vipaka follows, and then karma again, vipaka follows. Kamma vipaka vatanti. Tasma punabbhavo hoti, evan loko pavattati. When you keep doing karma, because it's now your vipaka, therefore you're suffering, you do a karma to relieve yourself of suffering. Now you keep adding fuel to the fire of existence, and it just keeps on going, and you're now in the transmigrational process. So again, I digress. So coming back to the point I was trying to make there, learn to deal with problems as problems without making it my problem. So looking back at yourselves, this is who I used to be, this is who I am now. There was a problem that I was trying to solve, and that problem has now been solved. I used to want the entire bar of chocolates. Now I don't need that much. I can stop myself at half a bar. It used to be when I picked up the bag of, raisins. Some people like raisins. Raisins, everyone knows raisins? Yeah? If you pick up the bag of raisins, you have to get through the whole bag. Or if it's chips, you have to go through the whole bag. Chocolates, whole bag. Toffees, whole bag. Ice cream, the entire bucket. Some people have it, they feel like if I start, I have to finish. If only they had that same dedication for life. The same dedication they have towards food. If I start, I have to finish. If only they had it towards other things, things more worthwhile. So look at how the problems that you used to have, you have either less of or you have no more. Then start to ask yourself, where did the answers start coming from? Where did the answers come from? If it used to be that when someone would shout at you, you always retaliated. You had to say something in return. If someone blamed you, you had to say something in return. If someone mocked you and laughed at you, you had to say something in return. But now people call you names. E kota. How does that make you feel now? And how did that make you feel before? E thadiya. How did that make you feel before? And how did that make you feel now? Tatya. How did that make you feel before? How did that make you feel now? People use these words, right, to offend others. Is it not good that people offend you? Because that's a great opportunity for you to test yourself. I know one of these days someone's going to come and call me Tatya. For our non-native speakers, it's a bold-headed man. An offensive way of, or an insulting word for a bold-headed man. Tadya is an offensive word for someone who's a bit overweight. A bit or a lot overweight. So someone who's overweight. Someone who's big, large, a large person. Kota, someone who's short. Right? So these are, people have offensive words. There are racist words. I'm not going to say them. If I did, there wouldn't be a sermon next week. Actually, that's a good idea. I don't have to come down then. There are plenty of racist terms. Ask yourself, these are really good things. Don't try to stop the world from insulting you. Become a good shock absorber. When there's a shock, you need to absorb it. Ask yourself, have I become a good shock absorber? They call it a Sokara Sober in Sri Lanka. Sokara Sober. If you go to a garage bus, don't ask him what's a shock absorber. He won't know. Ask him what's a Sokara Sober. He'll show you one. A shock absorber. Right? So the world is going to have lots of shocks to throw about. Ultimately, people are vexing. They just want some way to relieve themselves of vexation. Why does someone shout at you? They're vexing. They just need someone to vex to relieve their vexation out on. That's all there is. Anger is simply, or the expression of anger is simply relief from vexation. And I think those things are great. I mean, it's great, isn't it? Is it not great that people have a method to relieve themselves of vexation? Because otherwise that guy is going to explode. Imagine if he couldn't speak, he was mute. The guy is really angry. He's mad now at another guy who's done something to him, or he thinks that he's done something bad. He's really mad, he's really angry. He doesn't know the Dhamma. The only way that he knows to relieve himself is by shouting at this guy. And he's mute. Meaning he's dumb, so he can't speak now. So this guy's going to explode, don't you think? With the anger and the pressure and the strain that's inside this guy, he's going to explode. So it's good that people have means of relieving themselves from vexation. And when you're on the receiving end of it, that's even better. Because it's an opportunity for you to test yourself. Life is the lab of the Dhamma. This is the lesson. This is the theory class. When you get back on the bus and the bus drops you at home, that's your lab. When you go to work, that's your lab. On the commute, that's a lab. That's one hell of a lab, isn't it? Commute, that's a lab. When you're among friends, that's a lab. When you're among enemies, that's a lab. Is it not good to have a lab, a laboratory? Well, great, because then you can test. When you have to do a chemical analysis, the chemicals are in the bottles but unlabeled. How do you work out which one's which? Yeah, you do some experiments. You take a bit of this, add it to a bit of that, and see what happens. Color change. Is there a residue at the end of the experiment? These things teach you or show you through experimentation. You're now able to pick out, so this is sodium hydroxide, this is calcium hydroxide, and so on and so forth. You work it out. Now you can start putting labels on them. Similarly, when you go into your labs, having taken the Dhamma, this is your opportunity to apply it. Keep applying it. And then it will become self-evident to you that the Dhamma works. That the Dhamma works. I asked those of you who came along to I think it was Wednesday's program, Because I know that a lot of you who are quite keen on giving the Dhamma to others. So you give them a CD and say, hey, I found some great Dhamma sermons, you've got to listen to this. Take it. There's a great sermon at the monastery, this place. I think you should come with me because I go every week. Why don't you come along, right? So there are some of you who do a great service to others by doing this, by spreading the Dhamma, by encouraging other people to listen to sermons. But I asked a favor of all of you on Wednesday, and that was, before you start giving the Dhamma out to people, become evidence in yourself that what you're dishing out actually works. If you're someone who's got a severe cough and you've had it for a year, you walk up to a guy and say, hey, I've got this cough medicine. Really works. And you're coughing. I've been taking this for a whole year. And this cough medicine really works. I've been taking it for a whole year and it really works. Are they going to buy it? You're a poor salesman. You are living evidence that the medicine doesn't work. Or you haven't actually taken the medicine. So if ever you have given someone a CD and said, listen to this sermon, it's good, it should work for you. Perhaps it's still on their CD player, it's never gone in, it's still gathering dust. Perhaps the reason for that is they didn't see the transformation in you as you handed over the CD. Because when you give the CD, people buy who? People buy people. People buy people. Something you learn in sales. People buy people. It's not the product. People buy people. So when you're handing out a CD, you need to sell yourself. You need to sell yourself. A good salesman sells himself. And then it doesn't matter what the product is. So is this a Dhamma sermon or a sales seminar? We have to start charging you now, okay? Seriously. Dhamma I can give you for free. But you're going to go and start making money out of these things. I need a cut. Can you make sure there's a donation box by the door? Sales techniques. What's that? Oh yeah. So people buy people. So you need to learn this even in you as you give the Dhamma out to other people. Because they expect you to be living evidence that this Dhamma works. So if you give someone a CD and say, hey, listen to this. And if I find you haven't listened to it, you think they're going to listen to it? He's going to say, I might as well listen to Bob Marley. Be the change you want to see. Be the change you want to see. That's not my saying. I think someone else said it before me. Is it Gandhi? Thank you, madam. Be the change you want to see. If you want someone to change, and a lot of people come and ask me, Swami knows, I want my husband to change. I want my husband to start listening to the sermons. I want my husband to come along to these meditation programs, listen to the sermons. I want him to become a better man. And I want him to warm the Dhamma. Well, I think the answer is with you. Swami knows, I want my son, I want my daughter to start taking the Dhamma. I want him to want to listen to these sermons. Well, be the change you want to see. Be the change you want to see in your husband. Be the change you want to see in your wife. Be the change you want to see in your children. Be the change you want to see in your colleagues. So don't be so eager, don't be so keen to give the Dhamma, to hand out and dish out the Dhamma. Be keen to make that change inside of yourself. Become living evidence that the Dhamma works. Because guess what? When that change begins to happen, you won't have to sell it anymore. They will come begging for it. When your colleague who works with you sees that you have changed. It used to be that whenever the boss comes into the room and he starts shouting at you, you used to tremble in fear. And then as the boss left, you always had to turn to your colleague and say, "This pariah. This guy's such a headache. I don't know why he comes into. I don't know why they keep him in this job. Loser." Shout at him, blame him to his back. But now, you have changed. Now the things you say, as he hasn't changed. He still comes and shouts at you. He's left. And you turn to the other side and go, "He must be in such a lot of stress, mustn't he? He must be really stressed out. Poor bloke. Let's see what we can do to help him out." He's going to ask, your colleague's going to ask, "Dude, what happened to you? Did you get out of the wrong side of the bed or something?" He'll laugh about it. A week later, 2 weeks later, as time goes by, as he begins to see that actually you're not playing, you're not acting. This is no joke. You have changed. You have transformed. He's going to come and ask you, "How have you changed? Who's your teacher? Who's your teacher?" Wait for that question, then give. How have you changed? What have you been doing with your life? How come you're different? You don't get angry like you used to. Become the change first. Become the change you want to see in other people. So, ask yourself then, in your reflection of Buddhanusatiya, ask yourself, have I changed? How much have I changed? And if you have changed, then you will ask yourself, how have I changed? What is it that made me change? What was the trigger? What was the journey I went on? What was the journey that made this transformation within me? And then, of course, you will come up with the answer. You know everything else has been the same. Work has been the same. School has been the same. Family life has been the same. Nothing else has changed. The only thing that's changed is I am now listening to the sermons. I used to give dana. That's not changed. I used to go to the temple once a month. That's not changed. So nothing else has changed. My postman hasn't changed. He's still the same. I haven't changed my doctor. He's still the same. I haven't changed my swimming club. That's still the same. So everything else seems to be the same. But I have a different result now. So if the result is different, something has to have changed. What is it that has changed? You just need something to fill the X. You keep working on what is the X? What might be the X? Now you know the answer. The only change is the Dhamma has touched my life. So this Dhamma works. It works. Now it's self-evident, not because I say so. It's not even because the Buddha said so. It's not because it's in the scriptures. In the Kalama Sutra, what did the Buddha say? Don't take it at face value. Don't take it just because your teacher says so. Don't take it just because you see it in a book. Don't take it just because someone of authority, someone who is supposed to know, says so. Don't. This is exactly what he asked you to do, folks. This is what I'm asking you to do now. He said, take it, apply it into your lives. Now analyze how you have changed. Ask yourself, look inside, introspect, see how you have changed, see how you have transformed, and then not a soul can come up to you and say, the Dhamma ain't true. There's not anyone that can come up to you and say, if it has become self-evident, there's not anyone that can come up to you and say, ain't true. Because then you will know with conviction. That is what Shraddha is. This is when you go from bhakti to Shraddha. From faith to conviction. From believing something just because someone has told you. From believing something because the senior monk has told you. From believing something just because it says in the books. To actually the application of it, which has now made it real for you. Now you are living it. First you were believing it. Now you are living it. You are living the change. You are seeing it within yourself. You are seeing it within yourself. And ain't no one is going to be able to tell you That is a lie, it's not true, it's false, the Dhamma doesn't work. Nobody. Otherwise people can come up to you and say, that Dhamma they talk in the Dharmayai Obai monastery, it's all nonsense, they're distorting the Dhamma. Don't believe that, don't go to that place. You know how many people stopped coming as a result of that? A lot of people stopped. Why? Absolutely. Because they hadn't internalized this. Because they hadn't become living, breathing specimens that this Dhamma works. Because they didn't internalize it. They just took it as knowledge. They learnt the Dhamma. They didn't apply the Dhamma. They gathered knowledge, but they didn't internalize it. Because once it's become conviction, once you know that this is the truth for yourself, it doesn't matter now who comes up to you and says. Even if the Buddha came up to you and said, don't go to that monastery, they're not teaching you the right Dhamma. Now you know. If you know, you know. If you don't know, well, you don't know. But the only way you can come to conviction is by application. So this is how then, ladies and gentlemen, you have to see the Buddha. You have to see the Buddha in seeing the Four Noble Truths and the results of application of that in whom? Your pet dog? No. Your husband? Wife? Next door neighbor? No. In yourself. You have to see that the things I used to desire, you desire no longer. At least not to that intensity. This onavima, that's begun to diminish. The wanting has begun to diminish. The desire that you used to have, that has begun to diminish. I don't desire as many things as I used to. At least not to that level. I don't want it as badly as I used to want it now. Those days if I didn't get it, I couldn't sleep at night. I couldn't go to bed, not knowing that I got it. Not knowing that I had it. Have you not had those times? You wait for an email, you can't fall asleep until the email arrives in your inbox. You wait for your customer to sign up. You can't wait until the email pops in your inbox saying, yes, we've signed up for the order. Sleepless nights. But now you are able to slowly, but gradually, you are beginning to see the change within yourself. Sometimes you have a fight with someone, you have a brawl with someone, you have an altercation with someone, an argument, and you didn't have the guts, you didn't have the courage, you didn't have the humility to walk up to them and say sorry. But if you have changed now, are you not living evidence that the Dhamma works? What else has changed? Aren't the blamers still blaming? Aren't the shouters still shouting? No, they haven't changed. Not one bit, and they'll never change. Because the world is, it's the world. It's not going to change. It's always going to be like that. We are not in the business of changing the world. We are in the business of changing ourselves. That is what this business is. That's why it's called Dharmayai Obai. That's what we are, right? Dharmayai Obai. Then? Obai. Who's this Obai? Me. So it's Dharmayai Obai for you, each and every one of you individually. It's Dharmayai Mamai. The Dhamma and me. Use the Dhamma, change myself. Not use the Dhamma, change he, change him, change her, change them. No. They'll never change. If everyone took it upon themselves to change, then yes, everyone will change. But you're not going to change by trying to change the other person. Because what the other guy's going to think is, well, why are you trying to change me? You change yourself. Because you're trying to change him, what's he going to try and do? He's going to try and change you. Tit for tat, right? You want to try and change me? Fine, I'll try and change you then. Again, you're showing, by giving the bad, a wrong example. Is it not? You walk up to someone and say, hey, you change. What is the example you're giving? If something's not right, change the other guy. So what's he going to do now? You change. You're giving the wrong example by walking up to someone and say, you change. Well, he's going to say, well, you change then. But if you walk up to someone and say, I don't like what you're doing, so guess what? I'm going to change. He's going to go, what? He's not going to be able to comprehend what you just said. It's going to come out of the blue. It's like, why is it? You're going to change. And you don't like what I'm doing. Yep. You don't like what I'm doing and you're going to change. Yep. Why so? Well, that's the easiest way to do this. I'm no longer going to expect you to do what I want you to do. Then, I don't care what you do. Now you can't upset me. Now if that guy did those things to upset you, he's going to realize, well, what's the point of me doing them anymore? He's not going to upset you, so he's going to stop anyway. Now, have you not achieved the result you wanted? So it's a good thing you can try this out. Jot it down in your notebook. Try it out next time at work. Go up to your colleague, go up to your, maybe not your boss, if you still want to keep your job. And go up to someone and say, the way you talk, the way you walk, I don't like that. So he's expecting you to say what? So he's waiting for you to say the next thing, which he's expecting is, you change. But instead you say, I don't like what you're doing, I don't like what you're saying, I don't like how you do that, so I'm going to change. He's going to say that again? Don't think I quite heard you. I said, I'm going to change. Then he's going to ask you, why are you going to change? Well, I'm just going to stop expecting you to change. I'm going to stop expecting you to do X. Then it doesn't matter the fact that you're doing Y. I'm going to be okay with that. So it's going to be difficult in the workplace, but maybe try it at home. Or actually, is it more difficult at home than in the workplace? Indeed. But seriously, try these things out. Find a safe environment. I can't dictate which environment is safe for you. You need to figure that out for yourself. Otherwise, there's going to be a long queue of people walking up to me and trying to solve their family problems for them. Thank you. I have enough of my own problems. But try it out. I don't like what you're doing. I'm going to change myself. So you must see then, folks, that this change that you have that has happened in your life is a result of you changing. Everything else has been the same. The only variable in that equation was you. And you changed because the catalyst for the change was the Dhamma, touched your lives. So now it's self-evident to you. You are a living, breathing specimen and proof that the Dhamma works. Then you begin to ask yourself, who gave me this Dhamma? Who's my teacher? Now you look back to the lineage. You look back through the noble lineage, and you know that it was the great master, the Buddha, that gave me this Dhamma. So the Buddha is for real. He's the real thing. He is the real thing. Oh, for sure the Buddha existed. There's no doubt about that. You don't need to go to the museum to look up if the Buddha existed. Oh, no. I know the Buddha existed. I know the Buddha is real. Because I have changed. I have changed. That is how you cultivate Buddhanusati. By looking at the internal transformation. How you have changed. We can talk about Angulimala. We can talk about Alavaka. And how the Buddha defeated them. But we don't know these characters, really. We really don't know them because, the moment they heard the Dhamma, they became a Sotapanna. Their wisdom was so profound, was so great, was so intense. All they needed was just someone to show them the path. Was to shine the light, and that's all they needed. Yes, they had their bad habits and their temperaments, but the moment the Dhamma touched their lives, they changed. But we don't know these people. We don't know those characters. At least not personally. So we don't know what they were like. All we know is what is in a book. And someone could come and question, this Alavaka guy, did he really exist? How do we know? What if that's just a fiction? Now what are you going to say? Then you have to say, well, no, actually, the historians, they did this, that, and the other. And then, it comes all the way down from the Sangayana that used to happen and all this does. Again, you are telling something that you heard from someone else. So you're just as bad as the historians. That's not how you know that the Buddha existed. You know that the Buddha existed not because there are several stupas around the country. That's not how you should know the Buddha exists. You should not know. Your evidence for the Buddha having existed should not be the Kalani temple, should not be the tooth relic. That should not be your evidence that the Buddha existed. Because again, that's hearsay. Someone says that is the tooth relic. I'm not saying it's not. Please don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying it's not. I'm certain it is. But what I'm saying is that should not be what you turn to for evidence that the Buddha existed. You have to become a living, breathing relic. Evidence that the Buddha existed. You become a relic. Why go looking for relics? You become a relic. You become a relic. That is Buddhanusati. So when you do your meditation, if you do your 15-minute sessions every day, start with this. Spend a few minutes looking at who you were and then reflecting on who you are now, who you are today, and how you have changed. In doing so, you may even begin to see how you have touched the lives of other people and how you have helped change other people's lives for the better through the Dhamma. And a lot of people, people among you, they will come and talk to me at the end of the sermons and say, Swaminatha, the Dhamma that we have learned, we now go and apply at our homes, at our workplaces. And it's changed so many lives. Groups of people come and listen to sermons now, and I talk with them, I discuss with them the Dhamma, and now they're beginning to change. The old habits they're putting aside, they're picking up new and good, fresh habits that will eventually and one day certainly see them through to enlightenment. Wow! That's really powerful. If you want to leave a legacy behind, that's what you need to do. By serving other people. But in serving other people, first you must have served yourself. Otherwise, like I said, take the CD, listen to it. If I come next week and you haven't listened to it, I'm going to show you who I am. That's not the way to go about it. Is it too chilly? I think so. When are you going to learn that, Sandra? Keep it at the same temperature. Okay. Thank you. So that is Buddhanusati. All clear on that? Okay. So next we move on to Marananusati, which is reflecting on death. That death is just around the corner. And it comes without warning. And I talk to you a lot of the time about death, so this is not a new topic, certainly not under this roof and between these four walls. You should be very familiar with death now. Is that your best friend now? It ought to be. You have died as many times as you have been alive. Did you not know that? But the point of reflecting on death is to reflect on the transient nature of existence. How it's just around the corner. It's just around the corner. For as long as there are defilements in my mind, raga, dvesha and moha, there's no escape. And the only opportunity I have is while I'm still alive. And time is dragging you to the inescapable, inevitable death. Total, what? Remember? What's the acronym? Yes, what is T? Total. And? Well done. You not listen to the sermons, others? You need to go back and listen to the old sermons. So I put time in your diary, in your work schedule for that as well. So now you have no excuse. There's listening to old sermons in the timetable. Total incapacitation and mental exasperation. That's what time does to you. Slowly but gradual and eventually it drags you there. What is total incapacitation? We are going to be bedridden. Can't do anything for yourself. You have to wait until someone comes and does something unto you. Like when you were just a baby in your cot. When you did your poo-poo, you had to wait until your mother came and cleaned you. Well, isn't that going to happen shortly? You're going to have to wait. So you're going to be totally incapacitated. But the sad part is the mental exasperation part. Because that can be avoided. That can be avoided. But most people don't spend any time or any effort in trying to avoid the bit that can be avoided. What they try and avoid is the first part. Throughout life they try to keep postponing the total incapacitation. They try to keep postponing that. So they don't work on the mental exasperation part. We'll worry about it later. That's why when it's 60, now's the time to go to the temple. Isn't it? 60 is the right age to start going to the temple. Until then, you need to work on your incapacitation bit. Build myself a house, buy myself a car, right? Get myself equipped for when I'm unable to look after myself. They forget about the mental exasperation part. Completely forget. Tuesday there was a sermon, I think last week. And there was a group of people who had the sermon, a singular sermon. And there were a bunch of guys, about 20 or 25 odd of them, all between the ages of 20 and 30. And then there were also on the other side of the room some ladies and gentlemen who were mature, so say midlife and beyond. But generally people who are successful in life, well-to-do, well-off, people of high authority, and so on and so forth. So as I was addressing the gathering, in other words, giving a sermon, I was asking them. So these guys on the left-hand side, these young putas who are between 20 and 30 years of age, you have some goals, right? You all have dreams, you have ambitions, yeah? Then they're going, yep. Good. So I look at the other side of the room, and so there was some elderly gentlemen, some elderly ladies in the audience. So how about you people? Do you have goals, ambitions and dreams? They say yes. Yes. So I turned back at the left-hand side of the group and audience, and I said, what are your goals, ambitions and dreams? We want to become rich. We want to become powerful. We want to become wealthy. We want to travel the world, because this is what successfulness is. Oh, fantastic. So I turned back at the right-hand side of the room. Those things that they just said, are they the things that you want in your lives also? I said, no, Swaminathan. How come? We've got all that. All that they want, we got. Oh, so what are you here for? None of those things really mean anything to us anymore. All of those things that those guys want is only for the first half. That's to prevent or postpone total incapacitation. What these guys want now is to fix the mental exasperation bit. So then I look back to the other side of the room. You see, all these things you want today, they already have them. So whether you're rich or poor, you're both here. Whether you're young or old, you're both here. Whether you're educated or not so much educated, not so educated, you're both here. Whether you're a man or woman, you're both here. Whether you're wealthy or not, you're both here. The point being, you're both here. That's the point. You're both here. How come? How come you're both here? Because if successfulness is what the guys on the left-hand side of the road, what those youngsters wanted, if that is what successful or being successful is, then the people on the right-hand side of the room shouldn't be here. But the fact is, they're both here. So I turned back again at the young guys and said, So Putta, you have a choice now. You can either take the long path or you can take the short path. You choose. Either you can come like this, or you can go like that and come like this. You choose. You choose. Isn't it stating the simple facts? Because if successfulness is all those things that they yearn for, all those things they long for, well, these guys have got it. So then where should this sermon be? At their place. Why? They found successfulness and now they preach about how to become successful. So we should all be there. But no, they're both here. Is that not evidence that what they think and believe as being success is not really what success is? The sad part is, young people, they're just too blind. So blind. Because of the association of ignoble people and immoral people. Stepping outside the four walls of the monastery, I don't know how people can even breathe and be happy. Only last week I was talking to some of our young monks. And some of our really young monks like Vajrayana Hamdru and Jnanadasi Hamdru, who are between the ages of 10 and 12. So I was talking to them and I spoke to them. I said, there may come a day you feel, all those things that we could have done as young children in lay life, we missed them. There may come a day. If you don't practice the Dhamma, that day may come. So I said, in preparation for that day, let me share with you something. And I'll share that with you now. I explained to them that the way this world works, and if you were here for the sermon yesterday, you might have picked up on this. The way the world works is by vexing and relieving oneself of vexation. This is how the world keeps going. This is how the world works. That is the principle of how the world works. Vexation and relief from vexation. I said, just think about advertising for a moment. Right? The reason that, let's say there's a drink that you like, and I don't want to name any companies or any trademarks on a sermon like this, but I did when I spoke to them. So I said, just take X drink, okay? Young people like it a lot, and they have, say, popular figures on the packaging, maybe sportsmen, and they entice you and try to advertise the fact that what we have, this product that we have to offer you, is pleasurable. That if you drink this, then you become powerful, you become athletic, you can become a good sportsman or a sportswoman. Right? So this is the idea, this is the notion that these advertising companies want you to take on board. And then once having watched these adverts, young children will want to go and buy this product. Now we know, having listened to the Dhamma and having understood the Dhamma, that pleasure does not exist in the outside world. And you know that. So pleasure does not exist in a chocolate flavored drink. Yes or no? Of course, it does not exist. Pleasure does not exist in anything outwardly. Because pleasure is simply relief from vexation. But I can get you to buy what I have to offer you simply by getting you to vex about it. And that is by indoctrinating you to believe that what I have to offer you is pleasurable. So if I'm a good salesman, I can get you to part with your money by selling you this. Sometimes you go to an interview. What do they say? They give you a pen and say, what? Sell me this. Any of you have been in sales? Some of the sales interviews, they'll give you a pen, just a random pen. They say, sell me this pen. Why? Again, people buy people. People buy people. It's not the product. It doesn't matter what the product is. It doesn't matter what the service is. It's people that people buy. So if you're a good salesman, In other words, you're really good at indoctrinating the other guy to believe that this world is pleasurable, joyful and essence-full. So in other words, if you're a good salesman, you're a good asatpurusha. Isn't that how you sell something to someone? This is good, this is great, this is wonderful, this is fantastic, this is going to keep you happy and it's going to give you a happy married life forever after. This is a must-have. Right? Must-have. So this is a salesman. This is a sales pitch. So it doesn't matter what the product is. As long as I can indoctrinate you, as long as I can get you to buy what I'm telling you, this is the view about this product, you will buy it. You are prepared now to part with your money. So really, if I wanted to sell you that chocolate-flavored drink, I was speaking to the young monks, and so I'm using the same example here. You can substitute this with anything you like, but that chocolate-flavored drink, if I was trying to sell you that, and let's say that's 50 rupees, this carton. Let's assume 20 rupees of that was for marketing, advertising. 20 rupees. Because advertising doesn't come free. I mean, the company has to spend money advertising, right? Yes, they don't charge us for advertising. Really? Did you just hear what I said? I said they don't charge us for advertising. Really? Oh, they do. Companies advertise things out of the goodness of their hearts, right? No, they just want you to bite the bait. So have I got anything against companies? Oh, no. I just want you to understand who? The world? No, understand yourself. Understand yourself. Understand, I want you to see how you fall trap. I want to help you become free. I want to help empower you so you don't fall into other people's traps. There other people set the traps. I'm not saying don't set traps. I'm not like that. No, set all the traps you want. Be my guest. Set all the traps you want. I'm just saying don't fall into other people's traps. Is that a bad thing to say? So 50 rupees for this carton of chocolate-flavored drink, and 20 rupees of that was for marketing and advertising. And who paid this? You paid it. So they took your money to vex you. So this is how it worked. So I'm writing the storyboard. This is how it works. Once upon a time, you were living happily. Usually it's not happily ever after. It was happily ever before. That's the real story. You were happily living ever before. And then you walk up to some guy. And then you said, I want pleasure. He said, I want pleasure. He said, I ain't got no pleasure to give you. But I want pleasure. Please, can I have some pleasure? Okay, but I can only give you vexation. Fine, I'll take it. You're going to have to give me 20 rupees for that. What for? Vexation. Fine, I'll give you the money. So he gives me money. And now I vex him by saying, this chocolate-flavored drink, oh, it's wonderful. It's so good, you must have it. It's the must-have drink of the century, you've got to have it. 20 rupees for that, please. So he hands you 20 rupees, his hard-earned cash. Remember, there was plenty of physical vexation before he went and got that money. He had to go do a job. And to do a job, he had to go looking for a job. To go looking for a job, he had to go to university. Before that, go to school. Before that, go to Montessori. Before that, go for tuition classes. And you know the deal, right? You've been there, done that, bought the t-shirt, right? You know it, right? Okay. So that 20 rupees didn't grow on a tree, did it? No. You had to work hard for it. So your hard-earned cash, you went in front of this guy and said, can you please vex me? Please. Please vex me. He said, 20 rupees. There you go. And now he's vexed you. Now you're vexed. Now, I'm vexing. Help. And he says, well, I don't know, I only have vexation, which I have given you. But now I'm vexing and I need help. Okay, if you give me 10 rupees, I can bring this close to you. I can bring it closer to you. So it's within your reach. Distribution. You've first done the marketing, you've done the advertising, now it's come to distribution. I'll distribute it. I'll bring it to your doorstep for another 5, 15 rupees. So first 20, now 15, 35. So you bring it to this guy's doorstep. He signs for it. Oh, how lovely. He signs for it. And he hands over you hand over your hard-earned cash. Look at how I'm milking you out of your hard-earned cash. So now you give me 35 of your hard-earned cash. All I've done so far is what? Vex you. And then I've made this product. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be crap. It doesn't matter. All I had to do was be a good salesman. When I'm a good salesman, you'll buy anything off of me. And then I brought it to you. Now you've got it. Now you've gotten it. And now you're ready to relieve yourself of vexation. So you say, hey, you've been so good to me. Because now this guy puts the straw in this. He takes a sip. Oh, this is so good. You are so right. You're so right when you said this is good, this is great, this is yummy, this is delicious. Absolutely. He doesn't know. He's being relieved of vexation. He doesn't know this stuff. Why? No understanding of the Four Noble Truths. He doesn't know where vexation comes from. He knows nothing about ignorance, attachment, and vexation and relief from vexation. He doesn't know any of this stuff. He took at face value what I said before, that this is yummy. Now, so this is 50 rupees, right? So he's already spent 35. He enjoys this experience so much, he says, here's a 15 rupees tip. Just for being a good soul. You've been so good to me. Why? Because you relieved me of my vexation. By this time he's forgotten how he started vexing in the first place. Is this not how you part with your beloved hard-earned cash? Give me one example that does not fit into this. Just give me one. We don't have time for two. Give me one. Everything in your life you spent money on so far, you worked hard on, you've done abhisankara for, was to relieve yourself of vexation. Because what is abhisankara after all? It's the relief of vexation, from vexation. But to have gone into vexation mode, you should have been vexed in the first place by giving you drishti, by indoctrinating you that this world is pleasurable, joyful and essenseful. Nitya sukha atta, which is wrong view. And it doesn't matter what the product is, it doesn't matter what the item is, if you are so gullible, if you are so naive that you pick up whatever I'm putting at you, whatever I'm throwing at you. Now it could be a chocolate flavored milk, it could be a necklace, it could be a car, it could be a toy, it doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter what it is. This is what I'm saying. Apply examples from your own life. The things that you went out and you bought. You go to a fancy restaurant. Why did you go into that particular restaurant? How come it's fancy? Because they've got nice, lovely lights, nice ambience, and it's fully air conditioned, right? And the look and feel of the shop is so appealing, and the advertising, the leaflets that come through the letterbox, and the adverts that go on TV, they don't charge you for any of this, do they? It's free, isn't it? Because they do it out of the goodness of their own, of their souls, the goodness out of their hearts, right? No, you paid for all this. It's a fancy restaurant because you paid for it. You paid and said, please vex me. Please vex me. How much is a necklace these days? A good necklace? I don't know. I can't remember the last time I bought one. Long time ago. My mother wants to get her daughter a lovely necklace for her wedding. I don't know, 500,000? About that? Okay. So, how did you pick that particular chain or that particular retailer? Because ads, billboards, right? Radio adverts, newspaper adverts, TV adverts. That's all free, right? Why is it when I say necklace, Helli Kamala Chandra comes to your mind? Did it not? I didn't name anyone, did I? No, I just said Helli Kamala Chandra. Why are you laughing? I just made that up. There is no such retailer. Why does that come to your mind? Because when you drive, there's a board up there. So, who paid for the advertising? Oh, right, okay. So 500,000 for the necklace, of which probably 50,000, 100,000 was that for advertising. Manufacturing, delivery, distribution, marketing. In other words, for vexing you. And then, relief from vexation happened with another 200,000. And then, of course, they have to make a profit. In other words, you are so good. You're so good. You're so generous that for relieving you of your vexation, out of your own free will, you give them an extra 200,000. Here's a goodwill gesture. Thank you for relieving me of my vexation. By this time you have forgotten that it was you who paid to vex in the first place. So I was speaking to our young monks and saying, Swami Nuhansa, if ever you think living out there is wonderful, if ever you think living out there is joyful, if ever you think that you have missed out on what life has to offer you, think again. Why do you think they have TV? Do you think when they show you TV programs, say I'm getting carried away again, I really need to work on my sermons and learn to shut up. It's 5 o'clock and I'm still talking. But hopefully you are meditating as I'm saying this and you're reflecting on the truth. Okay, otherwise I'm not just here to crack a joke and get you to laugh, but I really want you to capture the seriousness of these points and apply it into your lives. And I'm talking now one example. Think about your life examples and apply your examples and how you fell trapped into the traps that the world laid out for you. And you walked blindly into them. So I was asking them, Swami Nuhansa, I'm asking you right now. You know, when you watch TV programs, right? You switch on the TV and you want to watch teledramas, you want to watch cartoon. So I was talking to Vajranyana Hamdura and I was telling him, so you watch cartoon as a young child, right? He says, yes. Did they show you chocolate adverts in between? Cartoon, pause, chocolate ad. Cartoon, tikiri mari ad. Cartoon, jujubes ad. Right? So these ads. Or toys, or something, whatever. Yes, yeah, Swami, I remember that. Yeah, they showed these things on TV. So I said, do you think they show you ads so you can see the cartoons? Or do you think they show you cartoons so that you end up watching the ads? Now think. You all watch TV, more or less. Some of you may have given up the wretched habit, and some of you still do, that's fine. But I want you to start to think, folks. Do you think they show you the teledramas and then interrupt it with the ads? Or really do they show you the ads and interrupt it with the teledramas? What do you think their intention is? Think. Think, really think. Don't people complain that there are more ads now on TV anyway? You can't watch a game of cricket. It's always ads, right? Left, right, center. You almost miss the game because there's so many ads going on around on the TV, right? The top side, left, right side, bottom, and then even on the ground, right? Even on the pitch. Sorry, excuse me. All the boards around the ground. You turned on the TV to watch the game, right? But for every ball that you watch, how many ads do you think you're looking at? I've got nothing against the ads. Again, so please get my point here. I'm not saying what they're doing is wrong. All I'm saying is, a trap is being laid. I'm trying to teach you how not to fall into it. Because an ad is simply is nothing other than the world is pleasurable, joyful and essential. So the batsman, bowler on the ground, right? You watch the bowler and behind him says Pepsi. On the other side says something else, Dilma. In Sri Lanka, and these are some of the things I've seen on TV. Is there anything wrong with that? No, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's perfectly fine. And then all around the boundary, what does it say? Nibbana Paramasukhen. No, more ads. Constantly feeding you that this world is pleasurable, joyful and essential. So now think, why do you think they have the television channels then? Is it to show you the cricket or is it to show you the ads? Is it to show children cartoons or is it to show the children ads? And then interspersed with the ads, they show a bit of cartoon. Interspersed with the ads, they show a bit of teledrama. When I was a young child, I think if it was a half an hour teledrama, at least about 20 minutes of it was a drama, 10 minutes was ads. But nowadays, it's not like that. You know that. More ads and less drama, right? Because none of these businesses were set up to make you happy. The sole purpose of a business is to make profits for its shareholders. And shareholders don't make their money by showing you teledramas or showing you cricket or showing you cartoons. They make their money by showing you ads. Because the advertising companies pay them money to show you ads. Now the problem is this, none of that is wrong, it's all fine. I mean, that's fantastic. You get to watch ads for free. Brilliant. But here's the problem. You become indoctrinated. Ashvada, sapaisara, pleasurable, joyful, essential. And the thing is, right, to get one of those ads around one of the boundaries of the game, or to get a brand printed on the ground is going to cost a lot of money. That's in the millions. And it's free, right? Who pays for that? You pay for that. Again, what you're doing is, please vex me. Please vex me. We don't vex for free. We charge you for vexations. Okay, I'll pay you money. All right. Now I'm vexed. Please relieve me of my vexation. Please. More money. Here's money. Okay, here's the product. Oh, you're so good. Here's a tip. As I was giving this sermon out, it really hit me, folks, that this is what I have been doing all my life, falling into these traps. I felt so disgusted with myself, not with the advertising companies, not with any of them. That's all fine. I just felt so disgusted with myself. How I let myself fall into this trap. Simply through ignorance. associating the wrong people, associating ignoble ones, falling into a trap without looking where I'm going. As you drive down the road, there are billboards on either side of the road, right? Plenty of adverts on either side of the road. Now you tell me then. Are there ads on either side of the road, or is there a road in between the ads? It's not ads either side of the road. It's the other. They've laid a road down in between the ads so that you will see the ads. Not you can, you will. If you open your eyes, which you have to as you're driving, you will see the ads whether you like it or not. So the road was laid down to get you to see the ads, not the other way around. TV is there to get you to see the ads. The newspapers are there to get you to see the ads. Radio is there to get you to listen to the ads. Again, I have nothing wrong with this. I'm just re-emphasizing that point. I don't want a premature death. So just in case, right, I still have stuff left to do. Right? So the ads are perfectly fine. The advertising companies, long may they live and prosper. Right? And long may they keep bringing these wonderful messages to us. I mean, thanks to them, you get to watch TV for free, right? Without the ads, you'd have to pay for a TV license. As you do in some other countries, you have to pay for a TV license. So thankfully, they show you ads, so you get to watch TV for free. And imagine having to pay to watch Sri Lanka beat India at the cricket. You wouldn't want to miss a game like that, would you? Can't remember the last time that happened, but you wouldn't want to miss a game like that. The fact that it's free is only because, well, they've got the advertising to thank for. So you should be glad. So let's not complain or moan about the advertising. Just not fall into the trap. All these messages are simply, this world is pleasurable, joyful and essence-full. I just want you to understand that a trap has been laid out. Watch where you are going, watch where you are stepping. Because if you take on this view, if you allow the world to indoctrinate you, you're going to have to abandon your hopes of Nibbana. This is the risk, nothing else. To accept that a chocolate-flavored milk is pleasurable, there's nothing wrong with that, except for the fact that you have to abandon your hopes of Nibbana. What's the dasa akusa? What is the unmeritorious deed that happens by accepting that a chocolate-flavored drink is pleasurable? What is the unmeritorious deed? Nothing. So you're not going to go to hell as a result of that. You're just going to keep going on in samsara. But if one day there comes one day where going in samsara is just as bad as hell, and if that's how you begin to feel now, then I'm telling you, don't fall into the trap. Because you're going to have to abandon all hopes of Nibbana. So this is why I spoke to our young monks and said, now tell me you want to go back home. Because what is it, you all know what lay life is like. Pay money first for the vexing bit. Then pay money for the distribution bit. Then pay money for the pleasure bit, relief from vexation, and then finally give a bit more as a tip. You enjoy that? Is that the life you say is fun and enjoyable and pleasurable and joyful? I find that disgusting. Sorry. I really find that disgusting. I didn't say I find you disgusting. I would never say that. I find that life disgusting. That's why I gave that up. That life is not for me. It's disgusting. It's disgusting what they make you do. What they make you have to do. What you put yourself through. It's disgusting. I'm not up for that. I'm not prepared to be a clown in front of other people. To go and pay other people to vex me and then pay more money to relieve me from vexation. That's madness. I'm not willing to go and do a job. 9 to 5. What for? To pay people to vex me and then pay people again to relieve me from vexation. Who wants to do a 9 to 5 job for that? Okay, who wants to do overtime for that? Is it not fair that I feel disgusted about that way of life? Is that the life you want, Buddha? Go ahead then. The world awaits you. Why? There's money in your pocket, right? Then the world is your friend. If there's money in your pockets, the world's your friend. Think. I'm giving you time to think. I'm giving you time to reflect on this. Some of you, for some of you, it may be too late to make a significant change in your lifestyle. But at least if you can learn to live by modest means, wow, that's a great start. If you begin to at least realize this is what the world has been doing to you, or at least this is what you have been allowing the world to do to you, then at least you will consider a different way of life. You will consider a more simple way of life. You will begin to realize what is the point of having gone 9 to 5 to do all these jobs when earning all that money was simply digging my own grave. I was paying to get people to vex me. That's sad. I waited for my bonus to come so I could go and give it to someone and plead, please vex me, please. And then once they've done their dirty work on me, I had the decency, rather the naivety, to go and give them a tip. Here's a goodwill gesture. Keep it. Would you like the change, sir? No, it's okay. Keep it. Oh. Now, did I say that you should collect your change all the time from now on and never leave your change behind? That's not what I'm saying. Please don't misunderstand me, okay? It's a good habit, it's a good thing to do, right? If you do it, then it's good. If you don't do it, then so be it. All I'm saying is, these are things to think about. These are things to contemplate on, reflect on. This is what we started today by saying, today is the day to reflect. Reflect. I'm opening up your lives in front of you. I'm moving away the curtains of blindness. I'm moving away the veil of blindness in front of you. So you can start to see your lives through a new and fresh perspective. I'm showing it to you the way it is. Doesn't look too good, but doesn't change the fact that it's the way it is. I know it doesn't look too good. That's why I say I felt disgusted. This idea, what I just explained to you there, about me paying to vex me and then me paying to relieve me of vexation, that idea just came to me as I was preaching a sermon. And then I felt, geez, what was I doing? So you can imagine what those young children got to hear from me from that point forward. I tore their lives apart. Why? Because I'm so cruel and so mean? No, I wanted to save them. I wanted to save them from the pit that I fell into. I wanted to save them from the pit that I fell into. I want you all, when you get back to your homes, folks, I didn't say don't watch TV. If you won't watch TV, that's fine. I did say don't read the newspaper first thing in the morning, though. That much I did say. That I did say, and I'll admit that. That's the only. If you want to read the newspaper, read it later in the day, but not the first thing in the morning. Because you're just dumping garbage into your mind. Any positive thinker in his sane mind, will give the same advice. Don't read the newspaper first thing in the morning. Because it's not the Buddhu Sarana Patra you read in the morning, right? So when the idea dawned on me, I seriously, I really felt for these young people. Because I know, after the end of the sermon, they're just going to get back on the bus and go back home. And then on the way, they're going to see all these billboards. Wow. A world of delight and a world of pleasure awaits them. Switch on the TV, pick up your phone, adverts. Constantly being fed to you. This world is pleasurable, joyful, essence-full. Now do you understand why association with ignoble people is so dangerous? It's so dangerous. It's terrible. Drinking from the poison chalice is better than association with ignoble people. Because the former is not going to take you to the four great hells. But one word from an ignoble one. And if you are naive enough, if you are so ignorant that you take it on board and you become indoctrinated, you have just cut the path, you have just paved your path to the four great hells. Which one's more dangerous? An ignoble person or a hydrogen bomb? Which one? Ignoble association. Not all the hydrogen bombs, not all the atom bombs in this planet can take you into the four great hells. Can make you a dog, can make you a preta. But the ignoble association of one person is all you need. One. And they're hard to come by, aren't they? Ignoble association of one person is enough. And think about the people you live your life with. You would have been lucky to have been in Hiroshima when the bomb landed on you. That would have been better than to live that kind of life. This is why I say, I am disgusted about the life that I used to live. I'm disgusted. So I want you to think about these things, folks. And as you begin to realize the truths, these four noble truths, how it's the wanting and desire that keeps being implanted in your mind that is the real suffering. That is the noble truth of suffering. But what was going on with the chocolate flavored milk? You never saw the danger with the implantation of the idea. The indoctrination, you never saw any problem with that. In fact, you paid for it. How could you have seen anything wrong with it? You paid for it. They said, we're not going to do it for free. Oh, I'll pay you. You paid for it, so you couldn't have seen anything wrong with that. And then you paid for it when they gave you a product and offered you a solution to relieve you of vexation. What the world believes is, when that latter part is not available, I want it, but it's not there. That's where the world sees the problem is. Ignoble people say that's where the problem is. I want it is not the problem. I can't get what I want. That's the problem. That is the wrong problem. But that's how people or worldly beings, ignoble beings, pruthakjanas, that is the problem that they see. Want it, but can't have it. Can't have it. Don't have it. Can't have it, don't have it. This is the problem that pruthakjanas see. What do the noble ones say? Want it. Want it is the problem. I desire it, that's the problem. If you fix that problem, now it doesn't matter whether you have it or you don't have it. Because really the truth of the matter is, you have it today, but tomorrow it's gone. What happened when the tsunamis came? It took everything that people worked so hard for. All the things that they acquired, that they desired. Right? So they didn't say anything wrong with desiring. So they kept on desiring. And they associated people who continue to praise desire, continue to praise acquiring and wanting, right? And then eventually they build up a world around them. They build up big buildings, large families, material gains. And when the tsunamis came, it took everything with it. Now, every man and his dog is crying. Why? I don't have what I want. That's the wrong problem. If he had seen the real problem, he'd have cried before the tsunamis came. Like hopefully you're crying now. Because the tsunami hasn't come into your life yet. That tsunami. There's a bigger tsunami. Wanting is the problem. Needing, longing, yearning, desiring, that is the problem. That is the problem that noble ones see. In fact, it is through seeing that problem you become a noble one. The two things happen at once. You seeing where the real problem is and becoming a noble one. Those two things happen at the same time because it's one and the same. It's not one first and the other later. It's one and the same. Realizing that wanting is the problem. Not just simply knowing it, but realizing it. Wanting is the problem. Is this making sense to you? When I say wanting is the problem? So the only time you have left to work on this is while you are still alive. Because time is taken away. Your abilities. It's taken away your vitality. It's taken away, it's draining away all the energy in your body. And pretty soon, the only solution to the mental exasperation you won't be able to work on. And I've tried to make my sermons more interactive. Some of you might have noticed. I do that out of empathy for you, to stop you from falling asleep. Sometimes it may look like I'm a joker. It may look like I'm a clown on the stage. I don't mean any disrespect to the Buddha, Dhamma or the Sangha. But I want to make sure that you get to listen to what I'm saying. Because it's not being here that matters. Like it's not being alive that matters. It's what you do while you're alive. It's what you do when you're here. You have to receive these messages. Well, what's the point? You turn up, you sit down. What's the point? So I have tried to make it interactive, allow you to ask questions, to keep it interesting. I don't like to use the word fun, but I like to keep it interesting. Now, while not disrespecting the Dhamma, but I try to keep it interesting so that it keeps you awake. Because I need you to understand this. I need you to get this. I need you to give up desire. I want you to want to give up desire. Not I want you to want. Because when you want to do something, you will do it. How do you get young children to do things? Puta, clean your bedroom? No. Puta, I asked you nicely, clean your bedroom? No. I'm not going to get you that bike. Oh, how did you clean the bedroom so quickly? First 2 times, you wanted. Last time, he wanted. He didn't want to clean the bedroom. He wanted the bike. So he cleaned the bedroom. Likewise, I want you to want. This is why I talk to you about the imminent death. This is why I talk to you about do it now while I inspire you, or you're going to have to do it out of desperation. It's either inspiration or desperation. Problem is when you're desperate, then you just don't have the peace of mind to reflect on this. Guru Swami Nasa always reminds you, folks, the day you go blind, it's too late to give up your desires to want to see. It's too late, because the vexation that you will feel at that time, the pain of it will be excruciating. You won't be able to reflect. No, there's no room for wisdom after that. Because the wanting and the pain of not being able to relieve yourself will be so strong. It's like if you want to go to the toilet right now, really bad, right? The things that I tell you, it's not going to sink in, right? If you really badly want to go to the toilet right now. Because your mind is there. The same is going to happen one day when you go blind. Your desire to see It's going to be as strong as it used to be. But having lost your power of sight, you are not able to relieve yourself of vexation. Therefore, there's no room for wisdom to surface. Without any room for wisdom to surface, you will not be able to realize this. You will hear every word I say, but you won't be able to realize it. This is why you have to do it now. You have to do it now. This is why I want you to stay awake. Stay alert. And apply what I'm saying to you with examples from your own lives. So be mindful that death is always around the corner. Marananusatiya. Asubhahanusatiya, which is the next part of this. Asubhahanusatiya. So what was Subha? If you remember from the last sessions that we did, worthy of existence. How does one come to that conclusion that something is worthy of existence? Essenseful, joyful, and pleasurable. When you put into the left-hand side of the equation, pleasurable, joyful, and essenseful, what do you get on the right-hand side? Worthy of existence. Subhai. Existence for the purpose of associating things which are pleasurable, joyful, and essenseful is of course worthy. That is the conclusion that you come to. It's worthy, it's worthwhile. Yeah, don't even have to ask about it. Not to think twice about it. If something's pleasurable, something's essenseful, and something's joyful, then without a shadow of a doubt, it's worthy. Existence is great. So when you have those three factors on the left-hand side, coming to the conclusion that it's worthy of existence on the right-hand side happens automatically. But now, you need to come to grips with the fact, having listened to the sermons, having reflected on it, that actually there is nothing that is worthy of existence. And the reason for that is because you are beginning to see the world in its reality, and in real terms, through the Four Noble Truths. How what you thought was pleasurable is actually not pleasurable, is unpleasurable, vexatious. How what you thought was joyful is really not joyful, but it's sufferable. As in, have the potential to leave someone who is attached to it suffering. What does vexatious mean? It has the potential to leave someone who is attached to it vexing. That's why it says it's vexatious, not vexing. There's nothing in this world that is truly vexing. But they're all vexatious. As in, it's only got 50%. The other 50 has to come from you. The moment you're attached, now you're vexing. Now vexatious becomes vexing. Now sufferable becomes suffering. And therefore, associating them is essenceless, meaningless, futile, useless. Because there's no pleasure in them. After all, you sought their association for the purpose of pleasure, but if there's no pleasure to be found, you sought their association for the purpose of joy, but if there's no joy to be found, well then you have to come to the conclusion that it's essenceless. And then, what used to be pleasurable, joyful, and essenseful, now you begin to realize is vexatious, sufferable, and essenceless. Therefore, if those three factors are there on the left-hand side, on the right-hand side, you get not worthy or unworthy of existence. This is what Asubhahanusatiya is. Now that's just the theory. The theory is not the meditation. Or theory is not meditation. Meditation is practical. So what you need to do then is take examples from your life and apply the theory. So I think last week we talked about habits. So those who were here last week will remember. We talked about how people, humans are creatures of habit. How you have picked up habits, right, along the way in life. And I challenged you to try and see how much you're addicted to things. So hopefully you had some time and some opportunities to test yourself, to give up on some habits maybe, to change a few things around and see how much they affect you, and to test how much you're attached to things. Just by changing one tiny thing. A butterfly flaps its wings in one corner of the world, and the other corner, there's a tsunami. There's a hailstorm. So one thing can create a big impact. This is why I said, try waking up from the other side of the bed to which you normally do. Try sleeping on the other side of the bed. Try drinking out a different mug. Maybe use a different plate. See how much you're attached to these things. If you're attached to any of these things, then vexation and suffering are your best friends. There's no escape from them. So to reflect on this is asubhanusatiya. The reason that beings exist in samsara, go through samsara, is because they expect pleasure, joy and essence to come from the outside world. But none of them are things that can be sourced from the outside world. Pleasure is simply the relief from vexation. And therefore, Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana, being the only things that you can really associate, are not sources of pleasure. They're not sources of joy, and they're not something that can be deemed essential. And then finally we get to Mettanusatiya, which is the last part. So having gone through this journey, starting off with Buddhanusatiya, again reflecting on oneself and your transformation that has taken place, reflecting on Marananusatiya, and how you reflect on this practice of mine has to be diligent. I can't waste time, I have to be heedful. I need to do this now, not tomorrow, I need to do this now. And I need to do it all the time. There's no time to waste. I need to do it now. And then Asubhanusatiya, which is the actual reflection of it. So you started off with joy in your heart, then you moved on to the energy, the power, the enthusiasm to do it. And then you went into the meat of it. You really went into the crux of it. Here's the actual doing bit. The heavyweight part of the process, Asubhanusatiya. And finally, having gone through that process, now you move into Mettanusatiya, reflecting on the fact that, much like me, all other beings are also going through the same suffering. They're also going through a useless existence, seeking joy, but with no joy to be had, seeking pleasure, but with no pleasure to be had. Attiyati harayati jigucchati. My existence only brought me suffering. And by existence we mean what? Attachment to material things. And again, material things doesn't necessarily mean cars and houses and lands. These are material things in a very primitive sense. But now we are talking about Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. Indeed. Right? So, materially, Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana and the association of that is simply not worthy of existence. So that is my problem, not anything else. So I have no problem with you, madam. I have no problem with you, sir. Or you, sir. The only problem that I have is my attachment to Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana, because that is the only thing that brings me suffering and nothing else. People can shout at me, they can swear at me, they can call me names. That's not my problem. That's not my problem. But that's the problem that people try to fix. That's the wrong problem to be fixing. When someone shouts at me, now I realize that the problem it makes me sad is not because they've shouted at me, it's because I wanted them to speak nicely to me. That's why. I wanted them to speak to me in soft words. If you don't receive good service, then the problem is not the poor service. The problem is your expectation of good service. Expectation is always what leads to suffering. So one could ask, well, so what do you mean, Swaminas? Then should I not get my employees to provide good service to our customers? Is that what you mean? No. I'm not talking about how to run a business. This is not business studies and economics. This is study about yourself. I'm talking about you. Did I not say that right at the beginning? Buddhism is about studying yourself, understanding yourself, realizing yourself. I'm talking about why are you suffering? Why do you feel the need to go up to your employees and say, you're not doing good service? Start delivering good service to our customers. Why do you feel the need for that? It's because you're vexing. Because you know if you don't provide good service to your customers, then they're not going to keep coming back. And then it's going to impact your business. And then you won't be able to pay your mortgage. You won't be able to pay your car loan. You won't be able to send your children to good schools. You're going to have to get your children to come leave their universities abroad and come back to Sri Lanka. And all these problems that flow from that. Why? Because you still want them. I want a big house. I want a big car. I want a necklace. I want this. I want that. I want the other. I want all of these things. So I want to have my cake and eat it. The problem is wanting the cake. That's where the real problem is. People think not being able to eat it is the problem. Actually, I like that expression. I wonder if it was an arahant who came up with that. Wanting my cake, want to have the cake and eat it. There's an idiom. Some of you might have come across that. Want a cake and eat it. Actually, that actually says, this really clearly points out the problem. The paradox, or the two sides of the problem. One guy says, I want the cake, I can't eat it because I don't have it, someone's taken it away from me, where's the cake? They've run out of cake. That's his problem. So he goes looking for cake. He goes to the baker, looking for cake. He goes to the confectionery, looking for cake, but no cake. So that's his problem. Whereas the real problem is wanting the cake. Wanting cake. Give up your wanting, give up your desire. Now it doesn't matter whether the shops are closed. Doesn't matter. So you see, once you begin to understand this, now you realize this is my sole problem. There simply is, there's only one problem in this world after all. There's only one problem. You don't need all these consortiums and symposiums and conferences because there's only one problem. All of these consortiums and symposiums and conferences are manifestations of the one problem. They're trying to deal with different manifestations of the same problem. And that one problem is want. I want. I being self and want being desire. Mama and Magi. This is where the problem is. So we start to work on the want. Later on in future sermons, I'll start to show you how actually I is the problem. That doesn't mean that what I've been talking to you so far is incorrect. No, you can just do as we say, and you will reap fruit. Wanting is the problem. When was the last time you went into a shop and said, want this? No, want that. Did you not precede that with a noun, a pronoun? I want this. I want that. Did you say, don't want this? No, you said, I don't want this. I. We will get to that later. Let's not rush. Let's walk first before we start to run. So work on the wanting aspects, folks. That's where the problem is. Not having is not the problem. Not having is not the problem. Wanting is the problem. Desiring is the problem. Acquire what you desire. We spoke about this a long time ago. People are involved and engaged in the process of acquiring what they desire. And that is what brings someone pleasure. Acquiring what you desire. People believe, or worldly beings believe, Pruthakjanas believe that not being able to acquire is the problem. So they work on acquisition skills. Let's work on my acquisition skills. How can I acquire more of the things that I desire? That's not where the problem is. The problem is with desire. Desire. Wanting. Same thing. Work on that. So, once you realize this is my problem, and now you know this is everyone else's problem also. So as much fervence as I put into me solving my problem, may all other beings put that much effort and more. May all other beings put that much more energy and enthusiasm and more into solving the same problem that they have. Remember a long time ago I spoke about this. Two guys met. One guy said, can you look after me? What did the other guy say? No. You look after yourself for me. And I'll look after myself for you. Because when someone says, look after me, what he's saying is, I have desires, I have wants, make sure I get what I want. That's what looking after me means. Right? What does it mean? Look after me. What does that mean? When you say to your customers, right? Customer, I will look after you. What does that mean? Whatever you want, I'll bring it to you. Whenever you want it, whatever you want it, your wish is my command, sire. Just say the word and I will bring it to you. That is what it means to look after someone. But what about when you're looking after yourself? Now, that in the real sense is to get rid of the desire, to work on yourself, work on oneself. And once you worked on yourself, once you worked on your own weaknesses, your own faults, then you no longer are a threat to others. You no longer are a problem to others. Don't become a problem that other people have to solve. Don't become a problem that other people have to solve. Solve your own problem. And you are your own problem. Solve your problem, and then other people will not have to worry about you. Then you won't have to protect others from you. Half the time, when you are among your family, you're actually having to protect them from you. That's why you say, Puta, don't make me angry. Why? If you make me angry, then what's going to happen? Somebody going to get hurt real bad. Courtesy of Russell Peters. If you anger me, if you make me angry, then someone's going to get hurt. In other words, you're saying, if you make me angry, then I'm going to become a threat to you. So what are you saying? I'm a threat to you. So protect yourself from me. How a dad can say that to a child? Or how a husband can say that to his wife? Shut up, or you're bringing out the devil in me. So this is a threat, is it not? Protect yourself from me. I'm about to blow up. I'm a ticking time bomb, darling. Run and hide. There's no wonder she's going to wonder why I ever got married to this idiot. So that's why I say, look after yourself. Fix the problem within. Then you don't have to work on the outward. It will solve itself. Work on the inside problem. Look after yourself. Fix yourself. The problem is always with you. So you realize that. Now then contemplate and reflect and pass on that well wishes, those benevolent feelings to all beings. Because all universal beings, all sentient beings suffer from the same problem. And the problem of existence. Having taken on the wrong view that existence is worthy, that worthy of existence is their view, and based on that, they continue to attach to the world, and then the moment they attach, now suffering, vexation comes in abundance. So that is Mettanusati. And you can end your meditation session with passing on merits, which you should now be familiar with. So these are the 4 aspects. This is a structured way that you don't have to, but this is a suggested way you can do your practice. Start off with Buddhanusati. Again, it's not about the Buddha necessarily. It's really about yourself and how you have transformed. Because you can't say, I don't know about myself, Swaminansa. Who does then? You know about yourself and how you have changed. And you know it's because of the Dhamma that this change has happened within you. Well, then if that is because of Dhamma, then my master, the teacher who gave me this Dhamma, must be a great person. It is he who has changed me. It's his teaching, it's his Dhamma who has changed me. That is how Buddhanusati can be cultivated. And now you know that if this has made so much of a change in my life, the more I practice, the happier I'm going to be, the more at peace I'm going to be, the more calm, cool and collected I'm going to be, the more joyful I'm going to be. And I need to do this now, not tomorrow, I need to do it now. Because, why? Because the more you do it, the happier you're going to be. That's why. You need any more justification? You need any more inspiration? The more you do it, the happier you're going to be. I give you 10 lottery cards. You scratch one, it's 1,000 rupees. You scratch a second one, it's 1,000 rupees. How much do I have to pay you to scratch the others? Do I need to encourage you? Come on, please, scratch the other one also, while you're at it. Now if I said, you can only scratch 1 card a day, isn't that what's going to vex you? You say, Swami, please, can I do them all today? now? Why? Because you know that the more you scratch, the greater your chances. You got nothing to lose and everything to gain. So you're not going to be someone who keeps putting off practicing it. You will want to practice it day and night. That is why I say I only ask you to do 15 minutes. I will never ask you to do more than 15. In fact, you will see on the timetable today, I've only put 15 minutes. I will never ask you to do more than 15. Not my timetable, the timetable I've made for you. Because that's how much I trust you and believe in you. Start off with 15 minutes. As you practice your 15, you will make it 20. I won't have to ask you. Because every time you do your 15, you will realize how much joy it brings you. How much happy it makes you. How happier it makes you. And then I don't have to encourage you. It will be self-evident. And then really we won't have to really talk about death again. If you become heedful in your practice, I won't have to talk to you about death again. If every waking moment, if every waking day you are diligent in your practice, why do I have to talk to you about death? The only reason I need to keep reminding you of death is when you forget that you can die. You forget that sometimes. That's why I have to remind you. Then Asubhanusati, which is the meat of this process, which is reflecting on the true nature of existence, the true nature of the Four Noble Truths essentially. And I have also asked you to make a list of the Raga, Dvesha, Moha that defile your mind, so you can take items from that list and start contemplating on that. Seeing how through existence and attachment to these things you only ended up in suffering and nothing else. And then finally, if this is my problem, then this is the same problem for all beings. So I have nothing to gain from somebody else. And I have nothing to give someone else except for the Dhamma, of course. Nothing of joy I have to give to anyone else. Nothing that is pleasurable I have to give someone else. So while I work on the extinction. Extincting, is that a word? Extinction. Yeah. Extinguishing? It's not the same word, isn't it? No. Okay. On the extinction of my existence, while I work on that, or while I work on extinguishing my existence, I wish that you would do the same. I'm not going to force you to do it. Why? Because your existence doesn't bother me one bit. I'm not going to force you to do it. Now I have no concern in locking you up in a prison. Because you can't hurt me. They're not talking about physically, mentally. You can't hurt me. You can't say anything that's going to take away my mental peace. So I have nothing to do with you. But I know that when you get angry and you start shouting at me, you are burning on the inside only because you've not seen the truth. So I want you, out of compassion, I want you to be able to see this. I want you to be able to realize this. Why? For my good? No, for your own good. I have nothing to gain out of it. And you have everything to gain out of it. I have realized this. Therefore, I want you to realize it. This is giving with expecting nothing in return. That is why it's called noble compassion, noble metta, nothing expected in return. Nothing, absolutely nothing. So this is the Chaturarakkhava, or the Satara Kamatahan that the Buddha expounded. And what I've talked to you and explained to you is how you apply the Dhamma into your practice and how you can use this as a structure during your meditation sessions. Okay, so the time is 5:45 now. And I have fallen foul of my own... I resolved that I was going to let you all meditate today, but again I have broken my own rule. But how about we use some time now to reflect on what we just talked about, because otherwise when you get back you're going to forget all this. Because you're so good like that. Okay, let's use some time to reflect on what we talked about. Start off this, right? Take 15 minutes. Okay, let's take 45 minutes. We have till 6:30. Do we have till 6:30? What time do you have to leave? 6? 6? What time do you have to leave? 6? 6:30? Okay, I'll take half an hour then. And we'll leave 15 minutes for the transfer of merits and closes the ceremony? The sermon. So let's take half an hour. So what I want you to do is take 10 minutes to reflect on your change, how you have transformed. Because I think you need to spend quality time there. That's what's going to give you the power and the energy and the enthusiasm to keep going. 10 minutes on that. Use 5 minutes on contemplate. I'll turn the clock around, don't worry, so you can see the time. You can use 5 minutes on Marananusati. So reflect on the fact that you need to do this now, and with that will come the energy, the virya, the effort that is required to do this. So that's what? 15 minutes gone. And then you have 15 minutes left. So how about we take... actually, no, we're doing the Arya Maitri at the end. So take the entire 15 minutes to do Asabhanusatiya, and then we'll close with Arya Maitri and transfer of merits. Okay? Is that a plan? Are you all on board? Yes? Excellent, right. So I'm going to turn this around in case you want to check your timing, but don't be so bothered about the time, really. So therefore I'm going to turn it back around. Don't worry about time. Just, I'll tell you when it's time. If you only get to do Buddhanusatiya, so what? So what? If you have to stop at Marananusatiya, so what? Doesn't matter. You've done it. You've done it. That's what matters. Okay? So let's take some time, and otherwise people are going to start complaining. You said this was a meditation session. We didn't get to do any meditation, and the complaints are going to start to come. Okay. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Bliss of Nibbana, healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana, healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana. May I and all beings in all worlds be healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana. Healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana. Healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana. May I and all beings in all worlds be healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana. Healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana. Healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana. Okay. So let me show you that timetable then. Were you able to reflect using that structure? Does it have any help? Were you able to follow some kind of... Because it's usually good to have some kind of structure, at least when you're getting started. Some sort of guidance is always useful. I didn't make this up. This is the Buddha's teaching. All I showed you was how you can apply it when you do your meditation. Starting off with Buddhanusati is always good, because it helps you to reflect on if this is who I used to be and if this is who I am now, and if it's the Dhamma that helped me come this far, it's the Dhamma that's going to help me get me further, and then with that comes your conviction of the Dhamma. So that joy comes into your heart. With that joy, And then you're unstoppable. And then when the energy and the enthusiasm come along with Marananusati, and you realize that this has to be done now, it's not a tomorrow thing, it's a today thing. It's not a next, whenever possible thing, it's a must do. It's not when I can, it's whenever, it's always, I must do it now. So you become very diligent in your practice and very fervent in your practice. So with that comes the energy and the enthusiasm and the drive that needs to keep pushing you forward. So with the two of them coupled, then you move into Asubhanusatiya, which is the reflection of the true nature of your attachments and the things you're attached to and why you suffer as a result of that. And that's where the defilements start to, all of it helps, but really that's where the defilements start to be treated and they start to diminish. So for those of you who are, you may already have your practice, your structure, then please, if you're comfortable with that, that's perfectly fine. But for those of you who want some kind of structure to start off, or to, if you've been doing it for some time but without structure, you just couldn't organize yourself, organize your thoughts, then this is a good way to do it. It's working for me, so this is why I suggest try it out. It'll be a good way for you to do your meditation. Got it? Is that how we're going to be seeing it? Oh. Can you read it from the back? Can you put it into web view, please? No. That's okay. So essentially, like I said, this is not rocket science. It's very simple. You have the weeks going from left to right on the second row, Monday to Sunday, and you have the various tasks. The reason I've put it this way is if you do it by time slots, then it becomes very, it looks very messy. It looks very messy if you do it by time slot, because it may be that you do different things on different times on different days. But if you do it like this, with the task on the left hand side, so for example you're waking up, you shower in the morning, so some of you might have a 6 o'clock start on a Monday, but maybe perhaps a half an hour early on a Tuesday morning. And this is just a template, of course, you need to work out what times work for you. And your morning shower, wash and so on. I've asked you to do a Buddha Puja at home, don't know if you do it, but I've asked you. All it needs is to be just a glass of water. If you have flowers at home, then all the better. And I've spoken to you about how to reflect on those offerings, and it's not just merely a case of putting some water into a glass and offering it at the statue. It's about reflection that you do at that moment. All of these things will help you with your practice. Cooking, breakfast. Now, one of the things I used to do as a lay person in my lay life was we used to cook for about 2 or 3 days we used to cook for 2 or 3 days in advance because we didn't enjoy cooking. So what we did was we used to cook and then stock it for 2 or 3 days. And we were fine with eating the same thing and getting it out of the fridge and putting it in the microwave, because eating was not the main part of my life. I just had to eat for my sustenance. Some people live to eat, and others eat to live. So you need to decide which one are you. So the reason I've grayed out some of those boxes is if you're able to maybe not eat every other day, but if you're able to cook every other day, then that's going to save you some time. Right? If you do a lot of cooking at home, that's going to save you a lot of time. Breakfast. It may be possible that sometimes while you're having your breakfast, you can listen to a sermon, maybe. The number one advice I'm going to give you with this is, start small. Start small. Don't start big. Because if you go in all bells and whistles, you can't go for very long. So start small. In other words, let's say you have listened to previous Sinhala sermons. That's number 8. So every other week, from 8:30 to 11:30. So that's a 3-hour slot. Perhaps you can't manage 3 hours on a weekday. Start small. 15 minutes, that's fine. Because if you decide I'm going to do 3 hours, and then one day you'll do it, second day you'll do it, third day you'll do it, by the fourth day it's not working out because it's getting so boring and it's taking too long, then you lose the enthusiasm. And then you feel discouraged. So don't allow you to be discouraged. Start small and then build up. Listen to previous English sermons. So I used to listen to sermons on my commute as a layperson. So that's something you can adopt. So I had my earphones plugged in on the way to work, on the way back from work. Rather than turning on the FM, you can listen to something that's worthwhile, because if you listen to the FM, now you know what you're listening to. Right? That the world is pleasurable, joyful and essential. This is Asatpurusha Sevana. And the more you do that, the more you're going to be stuck to the world. The harder it's going to be for you to get out of it. Use some time to reflect on noble metta, Arya Maitri. So I've said, during your cleaning, you can do on Monday. As you clean the house, sweeping, dusting, you can reflect on Arya Maitri during that. That can be easily done. Where you see the dots, it's just, you can put your own times there. So this is just a template. I think each Wednesday, so during the live sermon, so for those of you who come along to the Wednesday, Saturday programs, I've grayed out a lot of Wednesday and Saturday, because you got to go with the program that's here. And for those of you who go to work, go to school, then put out time for that. During your lunch breaks, so I used to have a trick. When I was a layperson, all my telephone calls I used to make during my lunch break. And I'll tell you why. 1, it saved me time. And 2, my telephone call is very short. I can hang up very soon. Why? Because the other guy wants his lunch. So especially when you have to talk to people who keep dragging on the conversation, pick their lunch hour and give them a call then. Because they will want to hang up as soon as possible. So that will save you time. So during lunch was when I used to make my phone calls. Worship my parents. That has to be on your timetable, especially for children and adults. What's the best way to lead again? By example, indeed. At what age do your parents stop being your parents? Never. Okay. So why is it okay then for you to stop worshipping them after you've passed a certain age? But isn't that custom now? After you become adults, after you become parents yourself, now it's not, you don't need to worship your parents. Says who? That's the wrong idea. You're giving out the wrong idea. So what your children learn is, I only need to worship my parents when I'm still under their guardianship. When they're looking after me, I have to worship me, because if I don't worship them, they're not going to feed me. You need to teach them, you need to show them that you shouldn't give expecting something in return. If they see that you're worshipping them only when you're with them, only when they fed you, only when they clothed you, only when they schooled you, what they're going to think is, worshipping is the way to remunerate for what they do for you. That's the wrong example. And when parents, when your children worship you, make use of that time to have a quick conversation with them. Puta, how's your day been today? Did Raga, Dvesha, Moha come into your mind? Did you get into a fight with someone at school? How are things at school? How's it working out? Why do you look like you've got a long face? What's going on? Right? I'm creating opportunities for you to have those interactions. Worshipping, the actual action of it is only one part of it. But really what I want you to do is allow and permit your children to come up to you. Because that's what a lot of people have lost these days, that interaction. Because parents are far too busy. Children are far too busy that they don't get to spend time with each other. So at least if you make it a habit in your household where your children have to worship you and you worship your parents, and you can do it at the same time. Now if your parents are not alive today, but you can go to the Buddha statue and after you say your gatha, you can worship your parents there. Dasamase ure katva posesi uddikaranam. Say the gatha and worship them in front of the Buddha statue. And then your children will do it with you. I mean, what a great way to live. What a great example you're setting. These are values that our ancestors had, which we lost on the way. This is where we went wrong. This is, if we change these habits and we restore those old values, we will be back on the right path again. Daily 15-minute meditation. So on Wednesday and Saturday you are excused because you will be doing your meditation while you're here, even at least while you listen to the sermons. Your weekly review must happen. So there's number 20, weekly review. Make sure every week you put some time to review the week gone by. This is to review and reflect. Where did I go wrong? Where did I waste my time? Why did that phone call take 20 minutes when actually all I got out of that was a 5-minute conversation? The rest of it was just mumbo jumbo, nothing. It was just meaningless. I could have saved some time there. So this is how you become productive. All successful people have done this, but with a different aim, with a different goal. What I'm saying is, any time you save here is time you can put towards your Nibbana. My timetable looks very different to this. And the reason it looks very different to this is because my time 100% goes to Nibbana, and then very little time, if at all, goes to other things. But actually, in real terms, I don't come here and talk to you about anything else. I don't talk to you about your mortgage. I don't talk to you about your car. I don't talk to you about your holiday. All I talk to you about is the Dhamma. So even when I'm giving you a sermon, that is also time I put towards my Nibbana. If I'm doing a Buddha Puja, that is also time towards my Nirvana. If I go and lend a ear to someone, only I think last week a couple came with their daughter, and the mother and the father, they were crying their eyes out about how the daughter did all the wrong things and she ran away from home, and a lot of things had gone wrong with the family. But this gentleman, he's a very quiet person by character. In his personality, he's very quiet. He doesn't speak to a lot of people. So even when they came, it was the mother who did much of the talking. The father was very silent. Until one point came where he broke. And then he was weeping like a child. So he started talking to me. He expressed himself after, I think, 15 years of having kept all those emotions and sentiments inside. He became so emotional. And at the end of that he said, Swaminatha, the reason I've been bottling all this up is because I never found someone to listen to what I had to say. Because all I did was, I just listened to everything he had to say. I didn't say a word. I just listened to him. This is why I say I lent my ear to him. I didn't give him anything else. My ear. While I'm listening to him, I'm reflecting on Anicca Dukkha Anatta. I'm looking at why he's suffering. He believes that he's suffering because his daughter ran away. That's not why he's suffering. He is suffering because he's attached to his daughter. But he doesn't realize that. I'm reflecting on that. So all I had to do is lend him my ear, and I helped him relieve himself from vexation, which earned me merit. And I was doing my meditation at the same time. So even that I did towards my Nirvana. So this is the thing, with my new life now, I can't think of anything I do on a daily basis that is outside the remit of Nirvana. Everything I do is directed towards Nirvana. I want you to try to live your life as much as possible along those along those lines. So transferring merits, make sure you do that every night before you go to bed. Family time, of course, we need to put some family time in there. So this is time you spend with your family. It may be watching TV, it may be going to the movie, maybe going to a restaurant, whatever. But make sure you remain a family person at home. Don't put up appearances. Don't pretend to be someone you're not. In fact, sometimes you have to pretend to be someone you're not. In other words, it may be that in the path of the Dhamma, you have become an anagami. But your family at home don't expect an anagami person to be at home. They expect a normal person, normal, within inverted commas, like them, to be at home. So be like them. Otherwise, you're going to have problems. There's going to be fights. Right? There's going to be lots of arguments, and then they're going to stop you from coming to the sermons also. So don't bring that problem upon yourself. And sleep. So 3 dots there because you don't need to sleep. So of course, customize this timetable to your liking. If you want, if you got a pen, you can collect it from Dasahandra. But this is not complicated. This is so simple, so easy to do, and that's why people don't do it. Why? It's easy not to do. That's why people don't do it. It's easy not to do. But if you do this, you will become successful. Worldly, if that is what you want, and also in your path in Dhamma, you will become successful if you start with this. I will talk about other things in future, but we need to start somewhere, and this is really a good place to start, with a timetable. So once you have this, folks, whenever someone asks you the question, what have you got to do now? You're never going to come back with a nothing. Because the moment you say nothing, what are they going to do? They're going to get you to do something they want. Now you're giving up your precious human life to do something that is of no value add to you, but to somebody else. Whereas if you always have something to do, you can always say, right, I have something to do right now, but tell me what is it you want, I'll do it when I'm able to. Sometimes you may have to do it out of emergencies, right? I'm not talking about that. Oh, and on that point, the other important thing is, don't make this a tool to start vexing. Okay, this is a tool. Don't you become the tool. This is the tool to help you on your path in the Dhamma. So just because, say, your commute is 8:30 to 9, or let's say you listen to previous Sinhala sermons every other A week. So it's every other A week because the alternate week is every other B week. Every other A week from 8:30 to 11:30. Let's say you sit down for your sermon at 8:30. Sit down. You've got your earphones plugged in, and it starts raining. Now your clothes are on the clothes, and so you have to go and bring all the clothes in. By the time you've done that, it's now 9 o'clock. And then someone knocks on the door, then you've got a visitor, and you go and greet your visitor, it's now 9:30. Right? And then you come back again to listen to your sermon, you're thinking, no, it's now 9:30. Oh, I had to start this by 8:30, now it's 9:30, what am I going to do? Oh, what am I going to do? No, now you're vexing. The whole purpose of this is to help you stop vexation, not to start vexing because of this. If that happens, then so be it. Just realize the anicca nature of existence. It's again, even that is not to your liking. That is what you need to reflect on. So there may be some days, like for example, yesterday was a Saturday. So my Saturday timetable, I have a few things to do, but with yesterday's ordination ceremony, I was unable to do much of what I had on there. So that's okay. All I'm careful about and mindful about is to make sure that nothing I do is towards the dasa kusal, unmeritorious deeds, and as little as possible towards raga, no dvesha, and as little as possible towards moha. Because raga and moha are required for merit. To do meritorious deeds, you have to have raga and moha. Without raga and moha, you won't do meritorious deeds. But why do we do merit? So we never have to do merit again. Does that make sense? Do merit, so you never will have to do merits again. Not because it's fun to do them, but because you have to do them. Do merits because you have to do them. Not because it's nice to do or fun to do or good to do. That's the wrong way to approach it. Could you scroll to the right, please? So there's time for laundry, so cleaning, commute, work, school, lunch, homework, wash and shower in the evening, study the Dhammapada. I think I should start getting you to do that now. Prepare, it's coming. I'm going to get you to start studying the Dhammapada. One stanza for the entire week. That should be okay. But I'm not asking that of you as yet. But for those of you who like to make a start, go ahead. And as I said, make sure you do the weekly review, because that's really important. Well, as much as everything else on there. But the weekly review is really important. It's critical. Because then you're constantly, it's continuous development. You're a DMAC, define, measure, act, and continuous improvement. So it's absolutely essential. Whenever you approach something, a problem, again, I'm talking business, I have to start charging you, sorry. Continuous improvement, there must be something always in your mind. How do you continually improve yourself? Never become static. Continually improve yourself. Then you're always looking for your weaknesses and your strengths. So allow your strengths to grow and pluck out the weeds, which are your weaknesses. And then make sure you're in a noble association in order to do that. There was a video I wanted to show you, but I'll keep it for next week. Because I want to conclude the sermon as there's a Guru Swami Noel says Nyaya Deshana, it's going to start in a moment. So let's transfer merits and we'll after the Arya Maitri, and we'll bring the sermon to a close. I think it's in Sinhala today, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right? Yeah, okay. Will you promise me that you will have done your timetable up by next week? Can I take a promise from all of you that you will have at least made a start on a timetable? I'm not asking you to promise me that you will follow the timetable. Usually that's the hard part, right? At least have one. That's a start. I mean, if you don't have one, what can you follow? Can I ask you to promise me that? At least start making a timetable? Yes? Okay. So you promise me then. Don't break your promise. Mamada siyalu loka siyalu satmayo sansara dahayen midetnwa sansara rogayen midetnwa sansara ginnen midetnwa sansara anduren midetnwa Nibbana parama sukhayen sukhita taravetnwa Nibbana parama sukhayen sukhita taravetnwa Nibbana parama sukhayen sukhita taravetnwa Mamada siyalu loka siyalu satmayo raga bandhanayen midetnwa desha bandhanayen midetnwa moha bandhanayen midetnwa mara bandhanayen midetnwa Nibbana parama sukhayen sukhita taravetnwa Nibbana parama sukhayen sukhita taravetnwa Nibbana parama sukhayen sukhita taravetnwa Mamada siyalu loka siyalu satmayo jati ginnen midetva, jara ginnen midetva, vyadhi ginnen midetva, marana ginnen midetva, nibbana parama sukhayen sukhitatara vetva, nibbana parama sukhayen sukhitatara vetva, nibbana parama sukhayen sukhitatara vetva, mamada siyalu loka siyalu satmayo shoka ginnen midetva, paridevayen midetva, dukkha ginnen midetva, domanassayen midetva, upayasayen midetva, yam pitchang nalabati tampi dukkhayen midetva, sankittena panchopadanakkhandayen midetva, nibbana parama sukhayen sukhitatara vetva, nibbana parama sukhayen sukhitatara vetva, nibbana parama sukhayen sukhitatara vetva, kamaloka anatai eyin midetva, rupaloka anatai eyin midetva, arupaloka anatai eyin midetva, siyalu loka anatai eyin midetva, athaharima anatai athaharima vetva, noelma anatai noelma vetva, midima anatai midima vetva, nivanama anatai nivanama vetva, nivanama anatai nivanama vetva, nivanama anatai nivanama vetva, nivanama anatai nivanama vetva. Just on a note of the timetable, just before I forget, I wanted to say this. I think I reminded parents, make sure that at least once a week you sit down with your children and speak to them, get some quality time with your children, just to make sure they're not going off track, just to make sure they're associating the right people and keeping away from the wrong people. In my timetable, I have a time for mentoring. So once a week at least I have time for mentoring. So I sit down with our young monks and sometimes our anagarikas and I talk to them. And I get them to open up and show them tips for productivity and things and so on and so forth. So parents, in your timetables, you absolutely must have time set aside to spend with your children. This is not playtime. This is time where you talk serious stuff. Talk about your child's future. Talk about how you can help your child. Talk about the children and the friends that he or she associates at school. In these times you will get to listen. And the lingo that they use, if it starts to change. Right? They had soft words they used to, but now their words have started to change. Harsh words, offensive language. Right? You need to be alert to these things. Pick up on these things. These are telltale signs that they're beginning to associate the wrong people. So these are quality time. Why did you bring them into this world after all? Now you need to do your duty. It's not just bringing them into this world. Now you need to lead them, you need to guide them. You are their guardian angels, mother and father. Guardian angels. They don't have anyone else to lean upon. So you need to be there always. Show them the path. So make sure you put in time in your calendars, in your diaries for mentoring. And that is not time you go to the pub or go to the restaurant. It's time you sit down and talk serious stuff. Ask them to bring their goals. That is what I ask our monks to do. Bring me your goals. Let's go through them. I've asked our monks who I mentor to come up with 3-year goals, 5-year goals, 10-year goals. Where do you want to be in 10 years' time? Where do you want to be in 5 years' time? Where do you want to be in 3 years' time? Now show me what's your path to getting there. We are serious. At this monastery we mean business. We are only one business, and the business is the path to Nibbana, but we are serious about it. So we are serious about it. And I want you to be as serious as we are. So parents, you must have mentoring on your calendars with your children. Okay. So I just thought I mentioned that before I forget. Let's transfer merits and bring the sermon to a close. Okay, first and foremost, let's take a moment once again to remind ourselves that it is because of the Supremely Enlightened One, the Perfect One, the Omniscient One, the Magnificent One, the Supreme Buddha, that we have the gift of Dhamma today. It is because of His infinite compassion towards all sentient beings, including you and I, that today we are able to receive this Dhamma. We are able to redeem ourselves from the shackles of samsara once and for all, and to be able to experience the ultimate bliss of Nibbana. Let us also take a moment to remind ourselves and transfer merits to the Bhikkhu, Bhikkhunis, Upasaka, Upasikas, who since time immemorial protected and preserved the teaching of the Buddha and passed it down to us through the noble lineage. It is because of them that we have the Tripitaka today, which we can study, understand and comprehend and use towards our salvation. Let us not for a moment forget the members of the Mahasangha, as well as the nuns who are resident in your local temples and nunneries, although you have come here today to this monastery to make your offerings, to listen to the Dhamma and so on. Do not forget for a moment that it is those monks and nuns who have been always by your side, through thick and thin, come rain or shine, who have been there to support you, to guide you. Let us take a moment to transfer merits to them. May through the power of these merits, if any of them have today been born in the woeful plains, they will redeem themselves and be born in the blissful plains. And may through the power of these merits, they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment to transfer merits to the Devas, Brahmas, spirits, demons, and the dead that we invited at the start of this sermon. We offered them this opportunity to witness this meritorious deed. May they have done so, and may through the merits that they have all acquired today, they be able to redeem themselves from any woeful plains that they may have been born in, and be born in the blissful plains. And may through the power of these merits, they abstain from the meritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also transfer merits to all those beings who will have been relations of ours in this infinite long journey in samsara, be they mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, uncles, aunts, nephews, nieces, grandparents, husbands, wives, teachers, parents, co-workers, and so on and so forth. Anyone and everyone who might have helped in whatever capacity, in any way, shape or form, in whatever way they might have touched our lives in a positive way, may they all be able to rejoice in the merits that we have all acquired today. And may through the power of these merits, if any of them have been born in the woeful plains, they be able to redeem themselves and be born in the blissful plains. And may through the power of these merits, they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment to transfer merits to all the men and women of the armed forces as well as the police force who dedicated their lives and sacrificed their lives on many occasions to save the peace and harmony of our country. It is thanks to them that today we are able to live in peace and harmony. May they all be able to rejoice in the merits that we have all acquired today, as well as those men, women and children who might have lost their lives in the wars, as well as in natural disasters such as tsunamis, earthquakes, hailstorms and so on and so forth, not just in Sri Lanka but also in other parts of the world. Contemplating for a moment about the fact that each and every one of them will have at some point in samsara been a mother to me, been a father to me. With that thought in mind, let us transfer merits to all of them. May they all rejoice in the merits that we have all acquired today. May through the power of these merits, they be if any of them have been born in the woeful planes, we will redeem themselves from the woeful planes and be born in the blissful planes. And may through the power of these merits they abstain from the unwholesome deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment, finally transfer merits to all those men and women who have made this event possible, who have made this event a success, either by being here in person today, or perhaps by offering you a transport, or perhaps by offering you a meal, or maybe just a glass of water, or perhaps by ushering you to a seat, or in whatever capacity made your stay here as comfortable as it could be, as well as those who are not here in person today, but in whatever capacity they were able to have helped make this event a success, either by spreading the word, through whom or through which you are able to learn about these sermons, or perhaps by transliterating the sermons and making it available for mass consumption, in whatever capacity, way or shape they might have extended their support and contribution, either through monetary means or through effort, or simply by putting their hands together and passing on their well wishes and blessings to us. May they all be able to rejoice in the merits that we have all acquired today, and may through the power of these merits they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And finally, may through the power of all the merits that we have all acquired today, may every man and woman and child throughout the world, just like yourself, who are striving day and night to achieve the ultimate bliss of Nibbana, be able to do so. May these merits empower them, may these merits energize them, and may through the power of these merits they, through them, we be able to witness the advent of many hundreds of thousands of Arahatun Vahanses and Arahat Mehenin Vahanses in this blessed land, in our lives itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And finally, may you and I and everyone who has taken part in this program, who has made this event a success, who has contributed in whatever shape and capacity, be able to become one of those Arahatun Vahanses, be able to become one of those Arahat Mehenin Vahanses, and obtain the supreme bliss of Nibbana in the era of the Gautama Supreme Buddha itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Members of the Mahasangha will now transfer their blessings to you. Raga ginnen midetva, desha ginnen midetva, moha ginnen midetva, Nibbana parama sukhayen, sukhita taravetva, Nibbana parama sukhayen, sukhita taravetva, mamada siyalu loka, siyalu satmayo, Nibbana parama sukhayen, sukhita taravetva, Nibbana parama sukhayen, sukhita taravetva, Nibbana parama sukhayen, sukhita taravetva. Tanurvange suvisi ananta mahaguna belen, silu loka silu satyoma, Nibbana paramasuken suvita taravetva. May I and all beings in all worlds be freed from the fires of desire. May I and all beings in all worlds be freed from the fires of aversion. May I and all beings in all worlds be freed from the fires of delusion. May I and all beings in all worlds attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. May the noble triple gem be with you all forever. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.